Good evening. The meeting of the City of Socorro Council is set to begin. Gentlemen, please remove your hats, and everyone, please silence all electronic equipment. No disruptive behavior or outbursts will be tolerated, and violators are subject to ejection and possible prosecution. Buenas tardes. La Junta del Concilio de la Ciudad de Socorro está por empezar. Caballeros, favor de quitarse las capuchas, sombreros, y todos favor de poner en silencio todo equipo electrónico. No se va a tolerar ningún tipo de comportamiento perjudicial o revoltoso. A quien no siga estas reglas se le sacará y puede ser infraccionado.
It is now 6:01 p.m. This meeting is called to order. Item number 2, Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Item number 3, recognition to Socorro High School students. Ms. Danica Luana. And Ms. Haley Clark.
Thank you.
Item number 4, establishment of quorum.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Here.
Alejandro Garcia.
Here.
Mayor Ivy Avalos.
Here.
Rudy Cruz.
Present.
And Ivan Colon Villalobos. Here. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 5, public comment.
Mayor, we have no speakers for public comment.
Moving on to presentations. Item number 6, presentation by Marissa Quintanilla from the Rio Grande Council of Governments regarding El Paso Dispute Resolution Center.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Avalos, Marisa Quintanilla, Regional Services Director with the Rio Grande Council of Governments. Wanted to go ahead and provide you a presentation regarding one of the services that we offer at the COG. This is the El Paso Dispute Resolution Center. This is basically mediation services that are afforded to all El Pasoans. Just want to give you a history of this program. Back in 1988, when county commissioners went ahead and implemented ADR services, Alternative Dispute Resolution Services, they tasked the Council of Governments to manage and administer this program. So we have been doing this since then, since 1988. But I wanted to go ahead and provide you with information about the program, perhaps that if you all have any constituents that might need these services, you can go ahead and make those referrals to us. I believe that in your packet, you do have a copy of our brochures. We have brochures in Spanish and English, and wanted to highlight 2 programs that we offer there at the Dispute Resolution Center. First, we get referrals from our courts, whether it be the Justice of the Peace or any type of civil cases or family cases that are referred to us by the courts. The second program that I wanted to highlight is actually our neighborhood center. And I believe that perhaps this neighborhood center, their services might be of interest to your constituents. So in case that there's any type of dispute, neighbor dispute, landlord-tenant dispute, and constituents come to you all for assistance on how to resolve this issue, perhaps you can send them to mediation. Neighborhood mediation is a voluntary process. So unlike court mediation, where actually the judge is ordering you to attend mediation, neighborhood mediations is basically both parties need to agree to participate in the mediation. Again, we do have mediators. We have a pool of 32 to 35 mediators who will go ahead and facilitate the dialogue between the two parties. Mediation actually is the first step before going into litigation. So mediation affords both parties to be able to come to the resolution of their choice. Unlike with the court, basically the judge will rule who's in favor of one party versus the other. Here in mediation, the individuals have a say-so in the outcome of their dispute. There is a written agreement, and once both parties sign the agreement, it is binding. And so the cost for our mediation, our neighborhood mediation program, is actually $50 non-refundable. And so I think where a lot of folks are a little bit hesitant to participate in neighborhood mediation is because since it's a voluntary basis, many times the respondent does not want to participate, but then after that, the complainant then has leverage to move that case to litigation, whether it be at the Justice of the Peace or go through civil litigation at the courthouse. One of the things that we do with our mediation programs, both from the court and neighborhood, is that we offer mediations either hybrid or totally online, or, one of the things I was talking to Mayor Avalos is that should residents not be able to attend a mediation at our location off Lockheed, that we can look at something, perhaps holding that mediation session at the city of Socorro. There's some logistics that we would have to work out. Obviously, that would not be the preferred venue, but that's something that perhaps we can look into. So I just wanted to provide you with that service. Again, this program is a county program, but it is managed and administered by the Council of Governments. And just wanted to go ahead and just disseminate this information. So in case you do have constituents, please don't hesitate to refer them out to the center and then to see how we can best assist them.
Do we have any questions? Thank you very much, Ms. Quintanilla.
I got a question.
Mr. Reyes.
About the mediation, where would they go? Is it like an office?
Right. So that is our main office. It's located off Lockheed, 8037 Lockheed by the airport between Hawkins and Airway.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Villalobos?
You also mentioned you can do it virtually, is that correct?
That is correct. We can do hybrid or we can do a full Zoom mediation. So sometimes folks just feel better that, maybe one party shows up at our office and we set them up with the mediator and our computer equipment, and then the other party is virtual. Many times when there's a contract dispute, many times those firms are out of Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and they in turn will participate virtually.
And so, I know we have a lot of constituents that don't have vehicles or take the bus. Maybe it's something that we can look into here. If it's something that you guys can use one of our facilities, we would have to go through our attorney, our city manager, and council to be able to approve something like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
No other questions? Thank you, Ms. Quintanilla. Very much appreciated.
Thank you. You all have a great evening.
Thank you. You too.
Item number 7, presentation by Revive, a local service provider in the EMS industry.
Yes, so good evening, Mayor and Council. This item was brought up by Mr. Rudy Cruz. We do have some representatives from Revive that would like to give a presentation on an initial startup.
Yes.
Yes, so they want to provide council a presentation.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
So when Revive reached out, they did mention that they understand that the city of Socorro has entered into agreement with Elite Services. They are not here to try to take that away nor advocate for their business in any form. What they're doing is they're expanding their services throughout the state of Texas. They've began here in the county. They've received letters of support from the county. This is Revive's way of pretty much marketing themselves within our city. They currently provide services to La Ventanas location on Alameda, which is an adult daycare facility, correct? And that's why they're here, and they wanted to go about it the right way, and out of courtesy, they're here today to present their business and just to let the city council know what type of services they provide and the areas of operation that they'll be providing in should the city allow them to engage in business with us.
Thank you, sir. Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for giving us the time to present this information to all of you. My name is Carlos Alarcón. I'm a managing partner with Revive Medical, and Michael Sarabia is also a managing partner for Revive Medical. Our company is currently licensed with the Texas Department of State Health Services as a first responder organization. We have a desire to upgrade our level of service. Currently, we can take care of patients. However, we are not able to transport them to destinations such as a doctor's office, dialysis, or hospital. Our desire is to be able to be an additional option for the residents of the city of Socorro. That way they can choose which ambulance provider they want to utilize for non-emergent inter-facility transports. Yes, part of the services that we provide is event medical services, anywhere from local events, small events, Neon Desert Music Festival, Sun City Music Festival, to other events across the state. And also we provide consulting services in Mexico. Part of the stuff that we have done for the community involves community health. Myself and Michael were activated to provide and actually schedule and organize the mass testing initially when COVID started in 2020, and also the mass vaccination for the rural communities in West Texas. Now, part of those initiatives and part of that work that we have done, our desire is to also engage in being able to transport patients to definitive care. Of course, as we mentioned, as inter-facility or non-emergent transport. As Mr. Cruz said, our intent is not to interfere with the 911 operations that Elite is already contracted under. This would be, of course, if a patient has an option to choose from whichever ambulance service, they have the right to do so, and we want to be one of those options. Of course, they'll call us. This will not cost the city of Socorro anything. Anything will actually be under the insurance billing or private pay. As far as the services that we currently provide for Las Ventanas, we provide CPR training. We also provide consulting services for them, and they actually expressed an interest in us providing emergency medical services transport. I have to say emergency medical services because that's the way the state categorizes it, but we want to be able to provide ambulance transport, non-emergency transport to the residents. Of course, that's not interfering with the current operations that you have in contract with Elite Medical Transport. Also in one of the nearby towns, which is Horizon, we also have a pending contract to be executed with Emeris, which is the Hospitals of Providence Horizon, and a multitude of the patients from Socorro also, get services or get treated at that facility. So we want to be able to also provide the services in case they're unable to transport themselves because of a particular medical condition. We want to be able to be an option to transport them back home as well. One of the main things about our company that other organizations don't have is that Michael and myself, we have a patch, which means that we can jump on the ambulance. We're hands-on, we're clinicians. Myself, I worked for Life Ambulance many, many moons ago. worked at the Station 2 in Passmore and responded to 911 services in the community. And that, allowed us to learn about what the needs of the community are. And then, of course, our desire and our vision and our mission to provide additional community health services to the region. I also managed Elite Medical Transport previously and improved their operations. And I also managed Dominion Ambulance operations as well. So our experience is extensive in the ambulance realm. Michael, my business partner, he's a paramedic, he's a nurse, he's actually going to nurse practitioner school. So we are hands-on to everything that we do with patient care. People will say that, there's a shortage of EMTs or things like that. But the thing about us is that, we just don't sit behind a desk. We can actually, if there's a need, we can jump on the ambulance and take care of the patients ourselves, which is something that allows us to be interactive with the patients, ensure that we're able to provide the best care possible.
And I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Michael Sarabia. Like Carlos was telling you guys, I am a current, I'm a UTEP alumni, but I'm also a product of the Health Occupation Students of America. And you guys familiar with that? Socorro. So I went to Socorro. So that's very, very important to me, that we show these students, the students that just walked up, what the product can be. Very important to give people the right to have a choice. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. He pretty much summarized everything. Do you guys, can I ask if you guys have any questions? I mean, like Mr. Cruz was saying, we did get approval from Judge Samaniego and then other cities within the county as well. If you guys need anything else, we'll provide you guys with our phone number. We have an open door policy. We're located on Pelicano and Joe Battle. So, thank you guys.
Ms. Villalobos?
I'm
Has
not
a
sure who
question?
can answer this question. I love the fact that there's no fee. How does that interact with how is it going to interact with what we have currently in place?
So the reason that you guys have a 911 transport contract is just for them to be available 24/7 for all your emergencies. So like Carlos was saying, this is for non-emergent transport. So this is just another choice for the people, the community of Socorro, to be able to choose from us. And then what happened to be, all the owners are here now, all the ambulance owners that are here in El Paso. I don't know how many times you guys have interacted with them, but you could see that this is a very sensitive topic. So that's what it does. So it's not going to interfere with your 911. 911, they're still going to be there, and it's Elite. Unless Elite does not, I guess, come to those terms with you guys and you guys are not satisfied, whatever your contract says, then you could look for someone else. But we have a good working relationship with Elite, and I don't see that happening. So all we're trying to do is augment the services, and there are other services that are kind of like a secret that we can offer that's not being offered in this region. And for the size of El Paso, we need to go out of just the same old, you know? And just like what Carlos was saying, when I was flying, I was with Native Air before, and I was out, and is that like time's up? Oh, okay. So I'm bringing education, what I've learned out from this region, and we're bringing it back in. Another thing that we're doing to help with EMS is we're building a school. So we're like 99.5%. We just had a meeting today. It's almost ready to go, and The thing about having an ambulance transport company is that it's going to be a lot easier to get new students and to make EMS career possible. And that's where we're going to start recruiting out of high schools, out of colleges, and give them a good career. So that's us, that's Revive. So like I said, we have an open door policy, and you could always come talk to us. All righty?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8, presentation from Robert Campion, President of Elite Medical Transport, regarding ambulance services quarterly report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We do have Mr. Campion here that wants to give us their quarterly report of services that are being provided here in the city of Socorro.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Rob Campion with Elite Medical Transport. I'm also joined by my partner, Mario Padilla. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. Initially, when we had started back in September of 2019, we did have a goal of being able to update council on our activities and EMS in the Socorro community on a quarterly basis. As we all know, the last 2 years have been a bit of a curveball, but hopefully now, as the masks have come down and we're able to restart, we'll be able to see each other on a more frequent basis. And so tonight, I just wanted to present an overview of EMS activities, not just for the last quarter, but really over the last 2 years. And so I have some slides prepared. Now, normally when I've come before council, I just present some numbers and look at some things, but I thought that tonight, really be able to tell a little bit of a story of what we're doing in the city of Socorro and some of the things that get us excited. So if we can go to the next slide. Thank you so much. During the pandemic, training sites closed to paramedic students in the area. El Paso Fire, which was one of the largest service in the area, was no longer providing the opportunities for students to third ride. And so El Paso Community College and other programs, we had the available ambulances, and so we started training paramedic students, and the paramedic students have realized that the level of service that we're providing and the care that is going on is what they aspire to do. And so we've almost on every ambulance, it seems, we have paramedic students that are joining us, and they're getting the training here in Socorro. They're able to see the community, and we hope that people will work where they train. Medical schools learned that a long time ago, and so we hope that we're building the next crop of EMTs and paramedics in Socorro. Since we started back in 2019, 3,814 patients have been served by Elite Medical Transport, which is a pretty remarkable number when you look at it in the entirety. In October of 2020, we went through what I would call the stress test. All of healthcare in El Paso went through the stress test, but our numbers jumped so high. It was previously about 126 patients served each month, and that jumped to 190. The system was certainly stressed, but it held up. So we felt very, very good. We don't want to do it again, but we felt very good with the stress test that we experienced there, and it was able to show us that what we're doing is working well. And in addition, in the course of the last 2 years, the city of Socorro had some of the most successful COVID vaccine clinics in the region. The lines were short, the vaccine was readily available, the registration processes were great. We were very proud to be able to partner with the city of Socorro and Code 4 in providing the manpower to give those vaccinations. It was definitely a very memorable experience for all who participated, and we were grateful to be able to do that. And before we go to the next slide, and I'll present some raw numbers for everyone here tonight, but I thought it'd be great to bring some stories that highlight the care, that highlight the service, that highlight what the EMTs and paramedics of Socorro are doing. And so I can't tell you all the story because of patient privacy, but I brought 2 stories in particular that I'd like to highlight tonight. So if we can go to the next slide. So this was a 33-year-old male in a head-on vehicle versus motorcycle crash, a very severe injury, a near amputation of the right leg, and a tremendous amount of blood loss. EMS was activated at 17:33, so at 5:33 p.m., and was on scene within 7 minutes. 14 minutes later, they transported Code 3 to UMC and arrived there a little after 6:30. The paramedics arrived. They quickly applied a combat application tourniquet to the leg to stop the bleeding, established 2 large bore IVs, and administered ketamine, which is a dissociative analgesic, which is excellent for patients with unstable hemodynamics, so they've bled out. You can treat the pain without affecting the blood pressure, and it's an excellent drug. We're the only ones carrying it in the area. They splinted, dressed, and this patient was able to have his leg repaired. They were able to salvage the leg, and the patient is walking today, which is a great success story of prompt response, excellent care, and rapid treatment to definitive care. And the second story I want to share with you tonight is even more dramatic than that one. But this was a 25-year-old gentleman, a construction worker, and a ditch collapsed on him. His coworkers were able to dig him out of the ditch, but he had massive internal injuries, to include a punctured lung, internal hemorrhaging, 2 punctured lungs, I'm sorry. And, pardon me, the EMS was activated at 2:29 in the afternoon, was on scene within 4 minutes. In transporting shortly after and took the patient to Del Sol. But they were able to establish a surgical airway. The patient was clinched down, so they were able to open a hole in the throat and establish a surgical airway, which is a pretty tough maneuver. They were able to do bilateral needle thoracostomies, so they were able to help reinflate the patient's lung by relieving the air pressure inside the chest cavity. They administered a drug called tranexamic acid, which helps with massive hemorrhaging, and were able to assist that patient in reducing blood loss. TXA is another one of the medications that we've been able to provide that no one else in the area is doing. And then they were able to ventilate the patient all the way to Del Sol. The patient is suffering serious complications, but was able to survive to discharge, and I'm uncertain of what occurred after that. So the EMTs and paramedics here in Socorro are doing a great job. They continue to learn, they continue to engage, and just some of these stories, kind of show their dedication of being ready for the call, staying trained, and providing services. Additionally, when we last spoke, I believe we were talking about renewing the contract, and we had increased the level of service to an advanced EMT ambulance and a paramedic staffed ambulance. Now, there's no extra charge for this, but I'm pleased to report we actually added another paramedic staffed ambulance. In our sister operation in Horizon City, we had a gentleman who had an ankle injury and we lost for some period of time, and we thought, well, we need to build in some additional redundancies to Socorro. So that way, if an off-duty accident takes one of the paramedics out, we have some depth on the bench. So we've actually added some additional capabilities just to ensure that we have redundancies to what we're doing. So 2020 and 2021, very busy years. You can see that total transports have gone up. Cancellations and refusals, percentage-wise, tend to remain the same, but still quite a few patients being transported. And if we go to the next slide, response times remain very good. We're very pleased with the response times, and this may be an area that nobody wants to visit tonight. We are in the southeast corner of Socorro, and the population base is not in the southeast corner. So we do have some geographic issues with where we're located currently down on Vineyard, but the response times are still very good considering the location of the EMS station. And pardon me tonight. And we do report monthly. I send a monthly report to Ms. Rodarte, ensuring that there's compliance with the contract terms and giving her quality statistics. Of course, those reports are available to anyone on council as well. Now, beginning in March of 2020, which was perfect timing, with Horizon City coming online, we established a great mutual aid program between the two communities. And you see here that actually the city of Socorro benefits a little bit better from that system. So you can see how many times mutual aid's been given to Horizon City. So 49 and 56 in 2020 and 2021, and then received mutual aid from Horizon to Socorro, 63 and 57 respectively. Now, if the ambulances in Socorro go out, we have a posting plan. So we actually bring ambulances closer to Socorro. So the Horizon City ambulance, for example, if both Socorro ambulances were to go out, the Horizon City ambulance would come down and post at I-10 and Horizon Boulevard to put it closer to the community. And then conversely, when the Horizon City ambulance goes out, we move a Socorro ambulance up to Horizon and I-10, which covers a good spread. So the mutual aid system is working very well. And if everybody's out, we bring something from our El Paso operations to Horizon and I-10. So it's been a very good system. And just an update on our staffing, paramedic EMT, advanced EMT at all times on board both of the ambulances. And we have 12 full-time employees assigned to Socorro. So the staff that is here is solely assigned here. They may work extra in El Paso, but you know the level of integration and familiarity they have with the community just grows every day. And one thing that may have been in our proposal, but that we haven't brought up ever to City Council as we talk about the EMS operations, I want to brag a little bit on our medical director. We have a very unique medical director. His name's Russ Baker. And Russ Baker was a paramedic for many years and an EMT before he went to medical school. And so he has a keen insight of what EMTs and paramedics face, you know, when they're working on the ambulances. And he is very interactive with our staff and participates in training. Following medical school, he went and got an academic background as an EMS physician and is one of the few board-certified EMS physicians really anywhere in the country. So he's well qualified and very active in our practice. This next slide is just a small sampling of the advanced skills and medications that we offer here in the city of Socorro. And I'll move along from that because I think we covered some of those in the case studies. And then just a quick note here, just on the billings and collections. You know, we have our average revenue per trip up there, so you can see, you know, what we're seeing, and it's actually moved down a little bit. We've seen a decrease in commercial payers in the city of Socorro as more patients, you know, perhaps they age into the Medicare program or as Medicaid benefits become expanded. One of the challenges we do face is that this is a highly uninsured population at about 36%. You know, of course, we don't screen for anything, you know, we take care of people first. And the last slide is simply just gratitude. I think, you know, it's a very important aspect of life, but certainly the trust that the city and the council has placed in our services is not lost on us, and we try to earn that trust on every patient encounter. And so, you know, going beyond the 2-year mark in our partnership with the city of Socorro, we're very appreciative of the opportunity we have to serve this community. And, you know, we certainly thank you for your confidence in us, and we will work to earn that on every single call. And I hope to see you again next quarter. You bet. Any questions?
One moment, please. I believe Ms. Villalobos was first.
So my question is to you all, just based off of the numbers that you see in our city and the location of maybe some of the calls may be saturated in a certain area. Have you identified alongside our police chief, maybe our police chief can help identify maybe a more centralized location for where we can establish a better EMS location?
Yes.
For better response times? Is that possible?
Yes, so there has already been an item that has been passed to do the Puna station.
Okay.
We're just working on the dispatching center on Moon. In order, once that gets completed, then we will transfer them and provide a hub on this side of the city.
So you don't need to answer that. Besides the potholes, loose dogs, and livestock, what areas can you see our city can improve in to help provide better services? I mean,
Well, here's
we are a very unique city. You're going to be driving on canals and dirt roads and all that stuff.
I don't know if I want to admit it here in this room, but I live in Vado, New Mexico.
Okay. Enough said.
And I ran a cow off the property this morning. It was eating some hay. So I understand the challenges that Socorro faces. You know, we see the rough patches. And so, you know, right now, what's keeping us busy is there's a lot of fentanyl being placed in the drugs. Now, that's not necessarily something that, we're going to fix overnight. That's a nationwide problem. However, and I saw some young students up here, and they look like, some of the best of their school. But, and the city does a tremendous job in outreach, but I think that outreach to vulnerable populations who may use drugs, who, may be going down a bad path, I think some type of outreach to those populations is tremendous. There is a drug called Narcan, naloxone. I think everybody's familiar with it now. If they give you a prescription for pain, Walgreens throws it in, at least in New Mexico, I know they do. And I've checked to see if we could order it by the gallon, and they just don't sell it by the gallon yet. But yeah, drugs in the community are very difficult. One of the other items that we see is elder neglect. You have elderly people who maybe they still want to be independent, maybe they just don't have the family resources, maybe they're alone. But keeping an eye on the elderly in this community is, I think, very important. And I think it's important in every community. But there's a lot of madres who aren't being checked on. And, their diabetes is going out of control. They're not getting the routine care until it's too late. When EMS gets to them, it's too late. And I think, from our perspective, from the EMS side, drug awareness, education, prevention, things we can do there, and then also checking on the elderly populations. Your potholes, your cows, your stray dogs, that's just part of it.
Thanks so much.
You bet. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like, you had a question?
Not a question, no, but I do need to talk.
Ms. Villalobos.
So I want to thank you again. I think I thank you every year. I was hospitalized 9 times last year, and I think 4 of those times it leaked. Pick me up. I want to share my story because it goes along with what you were saying. So my first surgery was in April of last year. Immediately, my hip popped out day 1 from surgery at the hospital. They popped it back in. A week or 5 days later, it popped out. I had another ambulance pick me up. Do you know how painful it is when your hip pops out? And their care on putting me on that stretcher was so careless that it was extremely painful. They didn't secure me. They just grabbed me and threw me on there. I was asking them to knock me out because I could not stand the pain. About 10 days later, my hip popped out again. A leak came. And I did not want them to touch me. It was so painful. And so what they did is they used the sheet I was on, because I literally was not, I was just laying on a sofa, and I was not moving when it popped out. It just popped out. So what they did is strap me, and then they got all of their people and held me instead of just throwing me on there. That was a huge difference. It was still painful, but not as painful. But I'll tell you what the other thing was, that as soon as they got me in the ambulance, because they could not do it while I was at home, but as soon as they got me in the ambulance, they were able to administer some kind of pain medication, and I didn't have to suffer through the whole ride. Because the first time, because I was not registered, I had to wait about 3 hours before I got pain medication, and I was in extreme pain. So that was a huge factor for me, and I don't know if we can, when we call in, if we can ask for the ambulance that we want, because, I had to go to the hospital for many other things, same problem. About 6 times I was transported out of the 9 times I was, but I wanted to tell you my story because it makes a difference, and it makes a difference that you guys do carry the pain medication. The ambulance said they don't. They're not allowed to administer any pain medication. So, not talking bad about them, it's just the experience.
Easing suffering is one of the most important things we do, and the pain medications are so vital to that. But I'm glad you had a good experience, and I'll pass that
Yes.
along to the crews.
Oh, I hope never again, but if I could choose, I would.
Great. Well, we'll get you a rewards card you can punch for The third trip is free.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you don't want to have that rewards card where the third trip is free, so.
I should, but no, I don't want it anymore.
No.
Thank you.
Great, thank you all.
Thank you. Item number 9, presentation by El Paso Marathon in appreciation to the city of Socorro for their sponsorship, participation, and event.
Mayor, we are going to ask if we can postpone it. The presentator couldn't make it to tonight's meeting, but he'll be here next meeting. Mr. Mike Cowder.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to postpone till
It's a
next meeting?
presentation.
Oh, it's a presentation.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
It's a presentation.
Oh, it's a presentation, I'm sorry. Okay. Item number 10, presentation of monthly MPO update to council and Socorro residents.
Thank you, Mayor. So I sit on the MPO representing the citizens and the city of Socorro. And so what the MPO consists of is just leaders throughout the entire county of El Paso. It's actually one of the largest boards that anyone can sit on. And just so you all know, these meetings take place similar to ours here. Everybody wakes up in the morning, they shower, they comb their hair, they grab their coffee, and they're on the road. We're downtown, and we're meeting there with different officials from throughout the county, different municipalities. And so at last week's meeting, I'm going to highlight, there's several items on the agenda that take place at the MPO meeting, but I want to highlight those agenda items that pertain to the city of Socorro or those that will or eventually affect us. The first agenda item that I did want to highlight from the MPO meeting was the letter of support that we provided the city of El Paso to go after a mega and infra grant. This is for a downtown project. And this, again, was just, there was no monetary value placed on this agenda item. All it was a support letter for them to go after grant funding. The next agenda item that I did want to follow up with this council and the citizens on was the letter of support to the city of El Paso. Again, also for another grant application. This one, however, is for a study to take place at the Isleta Port of Entry. For most of you who travel and use Joe Battle or Americas and are familiar with the traffic buildup there alongside the Isleta Port of Entry, you'll know that both governments on the Mexican side and the U.S. side have made an effort to gather information on how we can develop a more a faster passing times. Sometimes you're there for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. So what they're wanting to do is the funding that they want to make available for this study, it's the placement of some type of sensors and stuff like that so that they can track the cars and all the traffic going through there. Another thing that they also wanted to help facilitate with that was the transportation of goods. As you all know, on the Mexican-Texas border, billions of dollars worth of goods get transported. The Isleta Port of Entry is actually one of the busiest land ports of entry in the U.S. The next agenda item that I did want to touch base on was another letter of support that the MPO supported the city of San Elizario for. This is a community project funding application. So, long story short, at the MPO, we provided 3 letters of support. And so I urge our city council, and I'm also guilty of it, if we see any potential projects or funding that we want to bring to the city, by all means, let's work as a team so that we can put our heads together and then we can go after it. All I am is the person there, but I need the help from both our city and this council so that I'm able to go out there, and if there's special grant funding that our grants coordinator wants to go after, by all means, let us know, and we'll put that letter together, and we'll request it at that level. And I think that Socorro's slowly making waves, but our voice is being heard. I also wanted to update you all on the Paso del Norte trail, and I don't want to make it longer than it needs to be. For those of you all who are not familiar with the RMS 2020, again, this is a new project. I'm also learning what this project is, the Paso del Norte trail. I have my paperwork here in front of me, so. Okay, and again, this is not my information, this is not my presentation, this is the presentation that is provided to us at the MPO, so I'm just sharing that information with you all. If you all are interested, you can all visit the MPO site on the internet, and you can check the meeting minutes, and you'll see the full presentation and all the slideshows and information that's provided to us at the MPO meeting. I wanted to go over the Paso Norte Trail really quick. It's 70 miles of main alignment and a total 98 miles of loops and spurs. And what it is it's a trail, right? And it's received formal endorsements from local governments and government entities across the region. And we're talking about entities such as Vinton, so we're way out in Vinton, the city of Sunland Park, of course, the city of El Paso, Socorro, and all of the neighboring cities, San Elizario, Clint, Fabens, all the way down to Tornillo. This is a walking trail, it's a bike trail, and you can see there's several versions of this trail being built. The thing is that it started back in 2003 and it got built in pieces, right? Because obviously there's not funding to knock out this entire project. This project is a rather large one at that. I think it's valued at close to $60 million, but at the same time, with the help of grant funding and other funding sources such as those entities and other endorsements that those municipalities have received to create this trail, it's going to happen. And like I mentioned, the trail was identified, and it's a regional multimodal priority project in the regional mobility strategy. The RMS 2020 is what it's called, right? So we're seeking grant funding across the board so that we can make this trail happen. And the main purpose of this trail, obviously, is to get the people out and about. We want them to be out there walking. We want them to visit these bike trails. You can go to the west side. There's one. There's one right here in our own backyard, the Rio Bosque, the wetlands. If y'all haven't gone there, I encourage you all to visit it. It's really nice. But that trail is going to come down. It's pretty much going to connect from the west side all the way down to Tornillo, and you can either walk it or you can bike trail it if you'd like once it's done. But it's a collaborative effort throughout the county, and it began in 2003, like I mentioned. This one began out in Anthony, New Mexico, and Santa Teresa, and y'all can visit that trail right now. It's about 10.5 miles long, more or less. But other than that, again, I wanted to highlight the trails that are pertinent to our area here, and it's going to be a 5.3 mile long trail, and this is going to be along the Franklin Canal, and you can see that there's one already by where Presa is. That's the first one, the mission trail between Isleta and Socorro missions. And that's going to result in almost a 14-mile long trail between Ascarate and the Socorro mission. So once it's all done, that's the trail those are the two locations that it's going to hit. You can travel to and from. Other than that, I wanted to highlight just one more agenda item that was at the MPO, and that's the RMS 2020 project. And I have my notes here. Let me get these for you all. Again, on the RMS 2020, if you all have time, please visit the site. There's actually 3 numbers that I highlighted. There's a total of 27 projects. Some of them, bless you, some of them are ongoing and some of them are completed. The ones that I highlighted, I think, to believe that they're the ones that mainly affect the citizens and residents of our city. Because these are the roads that we mainly travel to and from. And one of them is the Nuevo Hueco Tanks extension. We've all heard of that one, and that's an ongoing project. That's going to connect the FM 76 to the SH 20. Eventually, that's Alameda, right? The Texas 20. Mm-hmm. And you'll notice that if you all travel up to Rojas, you'll see that there's widening on Loop 375. I haven't visited that street in quite some time. I don't even want to go and see what it looks like, right? You'll see I-10 and East Lake as well, and then the work that's being done on Horizon. All of these streets I'm mentioning to you all because these are the streets that we travel, and I know that it's frustrating at times. It's frustrating for me when I have to make the meeting on time or take the kids to school. We understand your frustration. We live in your city. We understand that. We ask for your patience, and again, if there's any questions or concerns, by all means, bring it to our office. That way we can take care of it over at the MPO level with the county, and we can speak to our partners with TxDOT and whatnot. That's what we're here for. And Other than that, that's pretty much what I wanted to highlight. And if this council or any residents of Socorro have any questions on what goes on at the MPO, by all means, you can address those questions to me, either email, phone call, or in these meetings here. I'll be happy to answer the questions as best as I can. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I make a motion to move items 31, 32, 33? Motion.
Motion to.
Can I make a motion to move items 31, 32, and 33?
Can we speak into the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Garcia, can we add 30?
30.
32, please.
I'm sorry?
30.
30?
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to move items 30, 31, 32, and 33.
Second.
You mean move it up, yes?
Yes.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia,
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Is there an item 33 in here, in our packet?
It's a swearing in.
I'm sorry.
It's the swearing in.
Swearing in.
All right, thank you. Yes.
City Manager, item number 30, discussion and action to review and assess the request of a rear rock wall from residents of East Lake Valley at 850 Nuevo Hueco Tanks.
Motion to open for discussion? Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is brought to you as a request of the residents of East Valley Subdivision, Mr. and Mrs. Ramos, which are here and also have signed up for this item, has contacted Minco, owner of property located at 850 Nuevo Hueco Tanks Road, asking for permission to build a rock wall, rear rock wall, which was granted. The permission was granted by Minco. Mr. and Mrs. Ramos are asking this council to come up with either ideas of funding for this rock wall. It was explained to them that we can't use city funds to place a rock wall in a private property, right? So what they're here and their petition is what ideas does this council have, or how can they be able to fund this rock wall? And they have signed up to speak on this item whenever you all are ready.
Mr. and Mrs. Ramos, would you like to speak on this item? Okay. Ms. Villalobos?
So, I'm sorry, excuse me. So I had asked you previously if we could, I know a couple of residents that live there. They wanted to see if they could raise the money, one. That didn't seem to be the right answer. And number two, could we talk to the tenant? Because I know MEMCO is the owner, but when the tenant is there, talk to the tenant and bring the petitions and see if they're willing to put up that rock wall. I know that we have a quote from MEMCO, but what is this quote? Is it for the residents to pay for it, or is MEMCO going to pay for it?
No, MEMCO is saying they will allow you to build, but they will not pay for it.
Okay. So that's one of my suggestions, is going to the tenant, once we know who that tenant is. Do we have a tenant yet, Mr. Gallina?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Ms. Colombia Lobos, my understanding that it's going to be a Wing Daddy's restaurant that will be occupying that space.
Right, but
Yes, ma'am.
who's the tenant? Do we have a tenant yet?
That would
Wing
be the
Daddy's.
tenant, ma'am.
Oh, okay, so you have their information.
Yes, ma'am. So the owner is Memco, tenant is the Wing Daddy's restaurant.
Mr. Martinez, is that something that council could approach?
Asking the tenant to fund the wall? You can, I mean, in theory, there's no blanket prohibition against, there's no uniform rule that says you can't ask anyone for anything. I'm a little cautious, though I would advise caution. I mean, the when and the how matters. I wouldn't send half of the police department with uniforms and sidearms out to politely ask the tenant to build the rock wall.
No, thank you for that. I think we would come up with something here at council and get it approved before we submit it.
Who was next?
Just
Mr. Reyes?
Real quick comment, I think we had already asked them, and they said they were not willing to build anything, right?
Correct, so we asked the property owner. We haven't
Okay.
talked to the tenant,
Oh, okay.
right? Because at the end of the day, the tenant would not be able to build without MEMCO, because it's, the property owner is MEMCO, not Wing Daddies.
Mr. Garcia?
Well, my question is, are we setting precedents of asking for different things for different residential areas for different businesses? Would we set precedents to open ourselves that anybody who does have a problem with a business could come here and ask any council to say, well, I want light, there's too much light coming from anywhere, or there's the rock wall, or there's whatever, A, B, C, or D. Are we setting precedents where we ourselves are setting us up for a struggle with businesses coming to Socorro because we go back and revert to whatever we're trying to do right now? Is that setting precedents, Jim? I'm sorry.
That's more of an operation, that's as much an operational issue as it is a legal issue. I mean, from a legal perspective, that's part of the reason why I'm reluctant to, I'm very sensitive to the where and the how and the, it's obviously a non-uniform practice, right? It's kind of a one-off. Again, I don't think there's a blanket prohibition against that, but I would be cautious about why are you doing it. I would simply ask, I would suggest the council should be very conscious of why it's doing it in this situation and why it wouldn't in the next, and perhaps instead of making one-off decisions, perhaps adopt some kind of policy or consider amending an ordinance, something in the development ordinances that would accommodate this structure in a more systemic manner.
But we already passed something for the future, right?
It's actually on the agenda for tonight is to pass moving forward. The unfortunate part is that this would not cover
Right.
this location, right? Because that has already been approved that way. But anything moving forward, when being approved, it would it would require a rear rock wall.
Mayor.
Mr. Cruz?
So what happened is because of how the properties were, the structure of the property, if you drive by there, you'll see that there's homes that abut commercial property, but there's a wall already built. The separation between this commercial property and the other homes is just a street. Because of the way our city ordinances are written, it doesn't state that when there's a separation of a road, a wall has to be built. My next question is for us. Would it have made a difference if that business was a daycare? Or was it the type of business, that structure that was being built there, or operation? I think that the city did go above and beyond in listening at our residents' concerns. We did reach out to the developer. We did get price quotes to see how much that wall was going to be built, but unfortunately, our funding sources cannot be allocated towards building on private property. Had that been city property, I think you guys would have gotten a wall already, without a doubt. I think that the only option for this council now moving forward is to go back, read our city ordinances really carefully, and see what else can be done so that there can be some type of barrier created. But that's going to have to go through a change of city ordinance, and this council is going to have to vote on it, plain and simple.
Is that a question, Mr. Cruz?
No, I just wanted you to say, yes, you're right. You're right.
So, Mr. Cruz, couple of things. One, when this item first came up about a month ago or so, you had asked a question about if the previous planning administration got it right, and I said that they perhaps got it. I used the word perhaps. I have since had the chance to think about it, and they got it right, because that's what the code required. They didn't deviate from the code. So if the code required the rock wall between the scenario that we are discussing, and then there's no rock wall, then they would have gotten it wrong. But they got it right, because that's what the code does not require the rock wall in that situation. Number two, to your point is, yes, there's the item that has a public hearing later tonight that will discuss this very specific item for your consideration, sir.
Ms. Villalobos?
You know, and I appreciate everybody's comments, but we're still council, and we can still be, you know, superheroes to these tenants if we just, you know, approach the tenant. And if the tenant says no, then it's a no. We did everything that we could possibly do, you know, just not, you know, we need to try to see if we can better the situation, because this is the only business that's not going to have that rock wall. Everyone else is going to. Thank you.
Mr. Ramos?
Okay, you can hear me.
Can you speak into the mic, please?
Yes.
I'm sorry, is that you were talking to the mayor, and I just wanted to hear exactly what you were saying.
What I was suggesting to council, that we should try everything in our power. Yes, they don't have to build that rock wall, but we can certainly go to the tenant. That's one of the last options that I can think of, going to the tenants and asking for them to build the rock wall, since they're probably going to be there 10, 15 years, I don't know, more. And see
That's
if
why
they're
we were
willing.
asking for ideas, or how is it that you can allow us to do something, you know, a fundraiser or something? Because in one of the meetings, it was stipulated that the city of Socorro, whoever was in charge, there was an involuntary mistake about the wall, even though right now Mr. Gainer says that there wasn't, or lawyer, or Mr. Martinez, I'm not sure. When I was here that time, they said there was an involuntary mistake, that there should have been a wall. Because of the zoning, how it was, you know, they weren't expecting the homes there. So
Right.
we understand that. So the only thing is that the homes are there now. As the other person, I'm sorry, your name, Mr. Cesar? No, the other
Mr.
one.
Garcia.
Yes, you said we don't want to set a precedent. Definitely, we don't. But correct this error, if, you know, the best way possible.
So, ma'am, we'll correct the error when we vote on it today. After that.
No, but that's going forward.
Yes, ma'am, and that's the only thing we can do. We can't really turn back time on these
Going
issues.
forward, you're going to correct an error.
Yes.
But this error cannot be corrected at all?
It can be corrected going back, it can be corrected going forward, and that's
I
the
mean,
power we do
I
have.
understand that the city cannot provide the money, but allow us or give us an idea, or then facilitate the workers to build it when we're ready or something?
Facilitating workers would still be using city money that we use to pay our workers, so we can't do that.
Okay, so then, okay.
So it's
As long as we're allowed to find people, and you give us ideas on how we can do it correctly, so that we won't be fined later, you know, oh, you're doing it wrong, there's a fine because you shouldn't have done it.
Right. So, like I tell you right now, I'm in a standstill. I'm not 100% sure what we can do for you. Oh, I know what we can do in the future, and that's what was brought up to here at council. And I'm sorry about the situation you're in. I really am. But we need to make sure that the problem is corrected, and it's corrected tonight. And if we could turn back 10 months ago, 20 years ago, we would on a lot of things. It's just not possible.
Okay.
So I apologize for the struggles, but this council will correct its errors today, and that's from now on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Rudy Cruz said, if it would have been a daycare, would we have wanted a rock wall? Yes. It doesn't matter what business, because that's the business, and this is the community.
Residential.
Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Martinez. For them, they also mentioned a GoFund, like something to help them fundraise. Would say something like a GoFundMe. Would that work for them? I mean, if they're,
I mean, a private citizen or a private organization, you know, is free to fundraise in any legal manner that they or it chooses to do.
so that's an option. we're talking about a GoFundMe, say something like on Facebook, maybe talking to your neighbors, see if they're willing to do that, to raise the money. How much was what was the cost of the wall?
So they received a quote of $19,688. Ms. Ramos did mention, I mean, this is a quote that MEMCO gave, but they can definitely go out and receive other quotes.
Right.
And maybe receive something that is more cost-effective.
Ms. Villalobos?
And we have to still remember, MIMCO has to approve it, it's their property. They still have to approve it, so before you start anything, you need to make sure that they understand that this is what you're going to.
Which I think they have. There's an email attached to the backup where the I don't know if it's the president or the vice president of MEMCO has already given them the go-ahead to build the rock wall. All they're saying is, we're not going to build it. But if you want to build it, these are the specs. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, the only thing I don't know is if they would want their people to build it, or they would allow us to find someone.
Yeah, so.
Well, I believe those are some options. Maybe talking, as Ms. Villalobos mentioned, talking to the tenant. Maybe after you decide and speak with MIMCO as well, maybe a GoFundMe might be something that you could look into. But those are some options. Does anybody else have any questions or comments at this moment? No.
Mr. Garcia, would you like to amend your motion?
I believe Mr. Ramos has a comment.
We would need to suspend the rules because he didn't sign up for the item, but.
Oh, I
we can
Motion to suspend the rules
yes.
for Mr. Ramos.
Second. We need to vote on it first.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for this time. Sure, this is not for blame anybody, but this is showing that approving zoning, changing the zoning issues is a matter that it's very important because we cannot change things later. It is not possible. And it's your duty to check what improvements or what changes can be built around the zones that you allow to change the zoning permit. And because that, we cannot legally, I'm not going to go against my wife, but we cannot do anything to fundraise something and get the money in private property. It has to be an agreement between the owner and the city that allow us to build. Otherwise, it's if they want to throw it away the next day, we lose the money. And we cannot force them to keep the wall more than one day. And that's all what I want to tell you.
Thank you.
Mr. Garcia, will you amend your motion?
Mr. Martinez is saying we can delete the item. There's really no action that is required.
Motion to delete. Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 31, discussion and action to approve Resolution 698, declaring the month of May to be Internal Audit Awareness Month.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Be it resolved by the,
Correct. So she would like to say something before the
I'm sorry.
resolution is read. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Julie Franco, City Auditor here. Have the privilege of working with you, Ms. Rodarte, the city staff, and the constituents for the past 3 years. In addition, I'm currently serving on a volunteer basis as the president of the local chapter of the Institute of Internal Auditors, which serves the borderland cities of Socorro, El Paso, Las Cruces, and Ciudad Juarez. Appreciate the time provided today and request approval, as you guys already have done so, and I appreciate it, for recognizing the month of May as Internal Audit Awareness Month. The resolution itself will add weight to our commitment that the City of Socorro is transparent and accountable. I also take this opportunity to thank you, Mayor Avalos, Councilman and Councilwoman, and Ms. Rodarte for making it possible. In addition, I also want to acknowledge Ms. Patrice Hills, El Paso County Auditor, who serves as an officer for the local chapter, for being present this evening. For that being said, thank you so much, and I do request that we can take a picture with Mayor, council members, and Ms. Rodarte for recognition of this important resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be it resolved by the Council of the City of Socorro that whereas internal auditing is a vital part of strengthening organizations and protecting stakeholders of both the public and private sectors, and whereas internal auditing helps identify and manage the organization's risks and ensure policies, procedures, and controls are in place and working appropriately, and whereas internal auditing is an increasingly sophisticated and complex activity requiring specialized knowledge, training, and education, and whereas internal auditing is an established profession with a globally recognized code of ethics and international standards for the professional practice of internal auditing, and whereas the Institute of Internal Auditors, the internal audit profession's most widely recognized advocate, educator, and provider of standards, guidance, and certifications, celebrates its 81st anniversary in 2022, and whereas historically the global internal audit profession promotes awareness about its value during the month of May each year, and whereas the contribution of internal auditors to the success of organizations and the global economy at large deserves our recognition and commendations, and now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Socorro, Texas. Section 1, that the month of May shall be known as Internal Audit Awareness Month. Further, we hereby extend greetings and best wishes to all observing Internal Audit Awareness Month. Also, we congratulate IIA El Paso Chapter on its 43rd anniversary. Section 2, that this resolution shall become effective immediately upon its passage. Thank you.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia,
Aye.
Rudy Cruz,
Yes.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Let's take this picture.
Yes. I'm like, yes.
Sí.
Julie, do you have your phone? I can take a picture.
Mayor and Council. Item number 32. Discussion and action to appoint Hector Ramos to the Ethics Commission, Place 6.
Motion to approve? Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colombia Lobos is absent.
Item number 33, swearing in of newly appointed commissioner. Mr. Ramos, will you please stand up? Oh, there.
Thank you.
Moving on to consent agenda.
Motion to consent agenda?
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colombia Lobos.
Yes.
Moving on to our regular agenda, public hearing and ordinance. Item number 16, public hearing of an ordinance to allow rezoning of 1120 Robin Road, Lake Clark Survey 293, Abstract 6257, City of Socorro, Texas, from unclassified to C2, general commercial and conditional use permit to allow for a trucking company.
Motion to approve?
It's a public hearing.
Oh,
Public
okay,
hearing.
my bad.
Public hearing is open at 7:19 p.m. As there are no speakers, public hearing is now closed at 7:20 PM. Item number 17, second reading and adoption of an ordinance to allow rezoning of 1120 Robin Road, Lake Clark Survey, 293 Abstract 6257, City of Socorro, Texas, from unclassified to C2 General Commercial and Conditional Use Permit to allow for a trucking company.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Carlos Gainard with Planning and Zoning Department. Hope you guys are all doing well. This was the item that was postponed 2 weeks ago. There is a little bit of history here. You approved the plat about a month ago. And so the request here is to rezone from unclassified. As you all may know, there's certain parcels, especially north, like around the I-10 area, Stockyard area, north of I-10 area, that are unclassified. They don't have a zoning district. And so this particular gentleman came in to want to open up his business, and as we do with every sort of application, we look at subdivisions, we look at zoning, and so he has now gone through the process of having to do both the plat, which you approved a month ago, and now he's wanting to do the rezoning. And so the request is to rezone from unclassified to C2, and then in addition, anytime that you have a use dealing with auto-related uses, you need the conditional use permit. So that's what's in front of you. Again, the request is to rezone to C2 and the conditional use permit. Again, this might sound familiar to you. This is on Robin Road. Zoning is unclassified. The size is about 5.25 acres. There's no future land use map designation. The property is vacant. And then again, the request is to rezone. Both the Planning and Zoning Commission and Planning and Zoning staff are recommending approval. The location map is next. So again, this is on Robin, Stockyard, I-10, Horizon area. So here's where the parcel lies. Here's the zoning map. So again, you're going to see it as gray because it does not have a zoning designation. But as you can see, there are other C2s, M1s, M2s surrounding that property. And so here's the property image. Here's the aerial. We did send out public notices as required by state law, and we have received no phone calls, emails. There was no speakers at the P&Z. Here's just another look at the plat that was approved, not necessarily pertinent to this item, right? You're approving the rezoning, not the plat. Next slide, Victor. There's a public notice. Next slide. There's a plat. And then again, the summary of the request is to approve the rezoning from unclassified to C2, and then approve the conditional use permit to allow for the truck company, and staff and Planning and Zoning Commission are both recommending approval. And happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Nope.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia,
Aye.
Rudy Cruz,
Yes.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 18, public hearing for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of 10330 Socorro Road, being Lot 1A, Block 1, Trujillo Unit 2, Replat A, City of Socorro, Texas, from A1 agricultural to R1 single-family residential. Public hearing is open at 6:24 PM. As there are no speakers, public hearing is now closed at 7:24 PM. Item 19, second reading and adoption for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of 10330 Socorro Road, being Lot 1A, Block 1, Trujillo Unit 2, Replat A, City of Socorro, Texas, from A1 agricultural to R1 single-family residential.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mayor and Council, once again, Carlos Gainar. So this one is also the item that was postponed 2 weeks ago, and also an item that you are familiar with, as you did approve the replat also about a month ago. The request is to rezone. If you remember, and I'll show you the replat, the parcel was about 2.5 acres in size. The replat created that one parcel for the house and then left the other sort of larger parcel intact. But it's A1, and so in the process of the property owners wanting to do the plat, they also wanted to rezone. But I want to be clear, it's just the house, and I'll show you in just a second. The rest is staying as A1. And so again, property is zone A1. It's about 2.5 acres as the whole, but you're only rezoning, as the mayor read into the record, the parcel that pertains to the house. Planning staff and planning commission are both recommending approval. Here's the location of the map. It's on Socorro Road and Cupic, which is an unimproved road, but I think many people are familiar with it. Here is the zoning map. So again, you're going to see it as A1. Here's the property image showing the house. Here's the aerial. Here's another look at the aerial. And then public notices did go out on this particular one. We did have a speaker at the P&Z. It was former Tijuana Governor, Mr. Alvidrez. He came here with his mom and dad, and they weren't opposed to the rezoning. They were just seeking information. They wanted to make sure that Cupric Road is not going to be vacated or closed off, and it's not. They were also asking to make sure that the canal was also going to be left intact, and those two things were provided to them, and they were okay with the rezoning. Here's the plat that you all approved about a month ago, and so again, just to be clear, you are only rezoning the parcel that's outlined in blue. And the request again is a rezoning from A1 to R1, just for that house, and staff and P&Z are recommending approval, and happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Villalobos?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we go back to the picture with the blue square? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So, so the blue square shows the entire property, correct?
Yes, ma'am. This blue square shows the entire property that you are rezoning. The rest of the plat is what's being left intact.
Okay. And the canal runs right next to on the right-hand side. Is that what we're
I believe
seeing?
the canal
Or is it the road?
runs on my left. So the house is fronting. Yeah, I think it'd be helpful. So the canal is behind the lot, ma'am, is my understanding. You can't see it on the aerial, but the house fronts Socorro Road. So that street is Socorro Road. Cupric is sort of that path. Yep, that path that's the street that's unimproved.
And that's why they were questioning if it was going to be closed off.
Yeah, they were just
their land
wondering.
runs across the street.
What's the question, ma'am?
That blue square is across the street.
The blue square is essentially that house.
Can we go back to the blue square, please?
Yeah,
See-
that's.
Okay, what is that? Is that the road? Is
Yep,
that
that's
the-
Socorro Road, ma'am.
And that's what I'm saying, their house is on top of Socorro Road?
No, ma'am, you can't really see, well, you can see it, it's just, yep, where the cursor is, that's the parcel that you're rezoning.
Right, no, I understand.
Yes, ma'am.
But the square is
The square
past-
just me putting it on the PowerPoint to illustrate for you what
That's-
you are, what
I'm a
you are.
realtor, you have to understand, to me, that looks like property
Sorry
lines.
about that. Yeah, it's just for me to
Okay.
show you the area that you are looking to rezone.
Gotcha,
Yes, ma'am.
gotcha, all righty, thank you.
Yes.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia,
Aye.
Rudy Cruz,
Yes.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 20, public hearing of an ordinance to amend Chapter 32 Parks and Recreation, Article 4, Park Use Permits, adding a new section, Section 32-128 fees of the City of Socorro Municipal Code.
Motion to approve?
It's a public hearing.
Oh, it's a public hearing again.
Public hearing is open at 7:30 PM. As there are no speakers, public hearing is now closed at 7:30 PM. Item number 21, second hearing and adoption of an ordinance to amend Chapter 32, Parks and Recreation, Article 4, Park Use Permits, adding a new section, Section 32-128 fees of the City of Socorro Municipal Code.
Motion to approve? Second.
Mayor and Council, once again, Carlos Gainar. I do want to state that we do have some floor amendments, some minor edits to the fee schedule, but let me walk you first through the item. So as you all know, this is a directive from council wanting staff or asking staff to sort of look at, how do we create sports and rec activities in the city of Socorro. And so we brought you one last city council dealing with the alcohol allowance during special events for parks and rec permits. And then this one establishes a fee schedule for various different activities. And so it's a brand new part of the ordinance, so it's not it's an addition to the ordinance. The backup lays for you different line items that we had looked at. So what we did is we compared both the county and the city of El Paso's different activities. And so that's where we derived the list. And then the fee, we provided to Ms. Rodarte and Mr. Garcia a review of the fees, and they looked at it, and we came up with a list or a fee schedule that we felt was appropriate for the residents of Socorro. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, the fee schedule is on there, but I do have, Mayor, if I may, and Mr. Martinez, if he's okay with it, some floor amendments that we were able to catch right before the item, once the item had already been placed on the agenda. Would you like for me to walk you through those?
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So the first one is, if you look on there's a line item for nonprofit and commercial activities. So there's no difference between the costs between for-profit and not-for-profit. They're both at $100. I think that you should consider having a lesser fee for nonprofits, right? Because if there's no distinction between for-profit and nonprofit, then you should just have one line item. But the intent was to have a different fee schedule for nonprofits. So perhaps the recommendation would be $50 instead of $100. That's number one. Number two, if you look at nonprofit estimated attendance of 751 or more, that cost jumps up to $200. And so we would request that you consider that to be $100. And then if you notice, we don't have a line item for that same consideration for for-profits. And so it would be adding another line item that says commercial for-profits at $200. Did I confuse you all? No? Okay. So that's sort of the first look at the edits, and then the other ones would be on sports registration fees under youth kickball. It should be parentheses per team. Under adult kickball, it should be parentheses per team as well, just to clarify that that's not per player, that is per team, per season, every time that they have to register. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, this was an item that was brought forward by this council, and again, just to make sure that we have a fee schedule for people wanting to lease out the city's facilities, that we're generating revenue for the city, but then also making it equitable across the board for kids and families who want to join some of the rec and sports.
Mayor and Council, may I?
Yes, sir.
For the floor amendments, in general, I mean, the abstract floor amendments are fine, they happen. Let the They're a product of the fact that the law recognizes that the legislative process is kind of an ongoing process more than an event. There's give and take and there's input from various stakeholders. But the one thing I would suggest, if the council is inclined to adopt the floor amendments, in general, that's fine. I would suggest not making the one about, for the nonprofits, because this is remember, this is a fee schedule. These are fees. These are not taxes. Fees there's limits on how and what the city can set fees at. The fee is intended to reimburse the city, recoup for the city the cost, the actual cost it incurs to provide a service. Okay, it's not supposed to generate any revenue beyond that. It's just recoup the cost that you incur providing a service. I don't think there's any meaningful way to say that the cost the city incurs for a permit fee for an event or something like that is different for a nonprofit than it would be for a for-profit. So if you reduce the fees for nonprofits, by definition, you're subsidizing those fees with fees you're collecting from other payers of the fee. So you're increasing their fees artificially beyond the city's actual cost. And again, that's something, you can do that with taxes. In the taxing arena, you can do that. You can decide we favor these kinds of properties or these kinds of citizens and we're going to tax them at a lower rate. Say, for example, senior citizens, right? They get a bigger exemption than younger people. You can do that in the tax arena. You can't do that with fees. That's my suggestion.
Fair.
Okay. Mr. Cruz?
Mr. Gaynor,
Yes, sir.
should this council adopt the ordinance today? When does it become effective?
Today.
Okay, here's my question.
Yes, sir.
Has the city already identified which fields are for what? And for internal purposes, say we have an organization that comes in and they say, well, show me what you got. Do we have a map that's outlined? I know there's some larger parks like in the newer development. Are those also parks that are going to be considered for to be used as practice facilities and whatnot? Have we identified each location for its use, or is it just across the board?
Yes,
I
sir.
want to drink at this park, I want to drink at that park.
So the way that the ordinance is written, this would be applicable to any park and any city facility.
And the reason why I asked the question is because in the newer development, I don't know what district it is exactly. There's residential, it's a residential area, there's homes all the way around. And if somebody wants to drink in the park, I'm just,
Yeah, that's right.
I'm thinking ahead. We get complaints. I'm just saying that this council needs to be aware of the decision we make today and allowing those areas to have to allow the consumption of alcohol in those areas. I can understand maybe Cougar Park or Bulldog Park, where the residential area aren't the proximity isn't so close. Also, the rules for security, occupancy, are they the same that apply to those for special events? Like, at what amount of people are they going to require security for these private events?
So to answer the first question, and I'm going to ask Victor to maybe help me here. I don't know this to be true, but I think you can deny a permit, right? You don't have to approve it. Is that correct?
Hello, everyone. Victor Reta, Director of Recreation Special Events. That's correct. You don't have to approve every event permit that you receive. The council is able to deny the permit. I can speak for the city side. We do require security, and obviously ours comes from the police department. However, in the past, the constable's office has also been security set up by other entities. Other nonprofits have also used them. However, it is required and part of our process. City council can choose to amend that process if you choose, as well as our policymakers. As far as the city goes, we always err on the side of caution to make sure that all of our events are family-friendly, safe, and welcoming, so we will always require police to be present.
So,
Ms. Villalobos was next. Ms. Villalobos?
So I have several questions now. Mr. Cruz brings up a very good point.
Yes, ma'am.
Of course, in my district, there's all kinds of development happening. And I think I've said this before, whether this council was here or not, those parks are too small.
Yes, that's
Those
right.
residential parks are too small. I think that should be an exception. We should not give permits. They're extremely too small. I mean, 5 families are enough, you know. Also, we going to have, put signage that there's now fees? Or if we didn't have that in mind, can we? That there's going to be fees? I could already see the confusion the next couple of months. People that are used to going to the park and taking their drink and never being told not to, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
So I think that the last point, so just to clarify the last point, it is still illegal to drink in park regardless of what you passed 2 weeks ago, right? What you passed 2 weeks ago was only specific to events and through a permit. That's number one. Number two, in terms of the signage, I'm going to ask Mr. Rodarte here for a little bit of help. It might be helpful to have signage up there just to clarify special events. And then the other thing too, that I just want to state is that there's also the fees are also established for like sports events, right? And so I think your point is well taken, Ms. Colombia, levels that some parks are more applicable for events than others, and so you're right. We wouldn't take one of the smaller parks in some of the newer residential areas for flag football per se or for soccer. But I think that what the fee schedule does is that there's parity throughout the city, and in case somebody does want to rent a small park, I'm just saying for a wedding, something ceremony, right? We have a fee schedule in place.
Go ahead, Mr. Martinez.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, Mayor and Council, I should have said this earlier. Jim Martinez, City Attorney. And that last question, maybe the last 2 questions in Carlos's lucid answer probably reveal something. Keep in mind the ordinance before you is just the fees. It's not, the questions you're asking are sort of broader about, well, under what circumstances and how should we regulate the use of parks and other public facilities. And those are fair issues, but they're not here. Those are not really implicated by this ordinance. This ordinance is just the fee. There's a separate ordinance and separate requirements for the how and the where and the why of the use permits themselves.
Mr. Garcia?
I just wanted to make sure and clear. It's illegal to drink at parks in a social gathering?
Without a permit.
Without a permit. Okay,
If you
sir.
want to buy a 6-pack and drink it at the park, you got to take out the $50 permit.
It is illegal.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So the motion, the motion will be to approve with the amendments to the ordinance?
Yes.
not all amendments,
Well, not all of them, yes.
Just
That's right.
with,
I would suggest-
except the nonprofits, is that correct?
my advice is, don't exempt or don't reduce the fees for nonprofits. The nonprofit should have the exact same fees as any other organization.
Jim, if I may though, there's one, so he's correct, but there was one edit to add a commercial for-profit increase of $200 to be in parity with the nonprofit fee. That's not there currently. And then the other two is just clarify that it's per team on the youth kickball and adult kickball.
Approve with amendments.
You have another question? Ms. Villalobos?
So, since we, Mr. Martinez as well, since we can't, it's the same, I'm sorry, I just answered my question. I was gonna say, can we kind of in that section special event, just kind of, change the numbers to be even for everybody, but not as expensive? But I think it comes out to the same thing, right?
It's the same thing.
You've got it. I mean, I think with the floor amendment, the way it's graduated is based on the size of the event, the number of attendees. And that makes sense to me in terms of the cost that will be imposed on the city. As long as it's the same number of people, I don't think the cost, there's a meaningful way to differentiate between whether it's being hosted or sponsored by a for-profit or nonprofit organization. That's why I would suggest don't distinguish fees based on that.
Gotcha, alrighty. And this can always be changed in the future, I'm sure of it. Okay, alrighty then, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Garcia, the only thing I would suggest is, can you clarify which amendments you're suggesting? All the ones that Carlos described initially, or the ones he suggested less the ones I suggested not adopting?
The motion, my motion is to approve with amendments about not changing the nonprofit fee, about $750 or more, $751 or more, $100. Commercial for profit, $200. Youth kickball is per team, and I believe something else. And adult kickball per team, not per kit, and the commercial fee to.
Yeah, so if you notice, you see that there's a nonprofit fee that kicks it up to $200 when it's $750 or more?
Yes.
We don't have that line for commercial. So all I'm saying is, can we add that line for commercial still at $200?
Add the commercial fee for $200.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Ruben Reyes?
Is it too late to ask another question? Just one question. Okay, so we're looking at the kickball. No, they're gonna use the park. The fees are gonna be for the workers to go cut the grass, have it ready, put trash cans, and then for the workers to go back, once everything's done, for them to pick up the trash and take it?
Yes, sir. So there's fees associated with the activity, right? Not only that, there's Parks and Rec staff that would have to be there during the events. So the fee is to cover the costs associated with providing that service, in this case, the fields, plus all the other costs involved. So
Okay,
the answer
and-
to your question is yes.
Because they're paying that fee, it wouldn't make us in any way responsible for any accidents that happen in.
No, they would find a waiver.
The-
They would sign a waiver. All teams would sign a waiver that the city of Socorro is not responsible.
That's right.
We're just responsible to maintain the fields and the league, per se.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Cesar Nevares?
I'm sorry.
Ale-
I'm sorry. He brought one more question.
Okay, please make it brief.
Okay. Mr. Gallina,
Yes, ma'am.
you mentioned kickball. I don't know a lot of the fields out there that have the kickball equipment. So they bring their own equipment, or?
So Mr.
No,
Garcia, you wanna- yeah.
kickball's very easy. All you need is the bases, and all you need is a ball. It's like softball,
Well,
soccer ball.
And a foot. 2 feet. But I'm just saying in general, do they bring their own equipment?
No, we would actually provide the ball, and like in softball, you can sell the balls, and you make a rule during the league that you provide the balls, and they have to use your ball, and they have to buy your ball.
Okay. And how about plates?
Like a rec center.
The plates where they,
We could. The plates,
the running plates?
the bases.
Bases?
So the bases, they're just there. We're gonna dig them in, put them in, and that's ours. Everything is ours. We're
city.
providing per se an arena for them to use it. So they come in, they buy the ball, they have their own ball, they kick it around, and then they use the lights, they use the field. So they're paying $500 a quarterly to be part of this league, and that's up to 8 teams per quarter.
Okay.
So we just provide the lights, we provide the fields, we provide the maintenance, we provide our pipe timers of people who will be there, and making sure that everything's in control.
Okay, thank you.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Item number 22, public hearing of an ordinance to amend Chapter 46 zoning, Article 5, Supplemental Use Regulation, Section 46-637, wall and fencing requirements of the City of Socorro Municipal Code. Public hearing is open at 7:49 PM. Would you like to speak, Mr. Ramos?
I want this opportunity for the next time that you have this same item, because there is not meaning to talk if I don't know what are the proposals to talk.
I'm sorry.
No.
Do you mind, in Spanish is fine, we understand.
Yeah.
I didn't understand, I apologize.
Quiero la misma oportunidad para después, cuando ya se puedan expresar cuáles son las propuestas que van a hacerse, de otra manera no tiene sentido que tome la palabra.
So the amendments that are placed will be reflected in the minutes.
Okay.
Right, that's where she stipulates, and that's how you keep track of what's changed, and the minutes are available to the public.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other speakers? As there are no other speakers, public hearing is now closed at 7:51 p.m. Item number 23, second reading and adoption of an ordinance to amend Chapter 46 zoning, Article 5 Supplemental Use Regulations, Section 46-637, wall and fencing requirements of the City of Socorro Municipal Code.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mayor and Council, once again, Carlos Gallinar. So you're very familiar with this item, right? We've been discussing it now for about a month, and the impetus of the item came from the Ramos family and other residents living adjacent to the proposed Wing Daddy's restaurant. And so council has directed staff, I'm sorry, Victor, can you get us to the first? So council has directed staff to look at a code amendment, and as Mr. Duarte mentioned, this is what's in front of you. The language is essentially adding a new regulation. So the City of Socorro, like many other ordinances under zoning, has different screening and wall requirements, right? Again, the most typical one we know is that when it's commercial and residential directly abutting each other, you need a rock wall between those zoning districts. The issue that happened here, as has been expressed, is that the homes don't directly abut the commercial. There's a street in between. And so the way that this language is written is to address in the future any other situations like these that may occur. So next slide, Victor. So I'm happy to read you this is what's in the language that's proposed. So again, it would be number 5 as part of the screening requirements between zoning districts. When commercial, manufacturing, or mixed-use districts are adjacent to residential districts and the street is the boundary line between these districts and the residential structures front the rear of the commercial lot, the commercial district shall erect a 6-foot-high wall on the property line. That's number 1. Number 2, maximum of 6 feet in height above ground surface level shall be permitted. And then what this is saying is that you could also have a 3-foot solid wall, masonry combined with wrought iron, metal, or approved fence material. So what we're saying is that it still has to be 6 feet. At the very minimum, 3 feet, but the other 3 feet could be wrought iron, decorative. It doesn't have to be a solid rock wall if that's an option. And then in no instance shall less than 3 feet masonry material at the foundation level of the wall be allowed. So 6 feet at the very minimum, if you're going to use the combo decorative wrought iron rock wall, minimum 3 feet for the solid rock wall. And then we did add the exception that the screening is not required if the commercial, manufacturing, or mixed-use business existed prior to the establishment of the residential district or use, right? So if the commercial area is still there, here comes the homes, we cannot force the commercial to put the rock wall when the commercial was there first. So that's what the exception is saying.
Ms. Villalobos?
I see a problem. I
Yes,
think
ma'am.
one of the first complaints that we received was the reason they wanted the rock wall is because the light shoots right through their windows or whatever the case might be. If we do the combination wrought iron, you're gonna have that it's gonna defeat the purpose that they were trying to avoid in the first place, which is getting that light into their residence. So I see a problem with that right
Yes,
now.
ma'am. I mean, it's in there, it's just an option, Ms. Colombia Lobos. You know, the other thing too that I would add is that the other thing too that happens is that, and not specifically to the Ramos's case, right? You're also gonna have a really solid long rock wall in front of your house, right? And so sometimes you wanna add a little bit of decoration, a little bit of character. So I think that the way that you mitigate it somewhat, I think your point is well taken. We're not ever going to mitigate it, but somewhat is that you still have the minimum 3 feet. So if the car's parked, right, the headlights are within that threshold of the 3 feet buffer, if you will, that's underneath.
I just want council to remember that first complaint we received, which was, that's one of the main reasons they wanted that rock wall. So, I mean, I love the decorative stuff, that's beautiful, but if it defeats the purpose of what they were trying to do, or half of the purpose that they were trying to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Then
You could always strike that section of the code out. I mean, it's entirely up to council.
What if we just add another, for it to be 4?
I'm sorry?
If we add another foot, so it'll be 4 feet?
And 2 feet of.
Council, it's really up, you know.
Is it 3 feet above ground or 3 feet total? 1 foot footing, 2 feet above ground, or 3 feet above ground?
3 feet from the
Surface.
surface.
Mhm. And then now we have those big trucks with big lights.
And this is for the rear rock wall, or
Yes,
just
ma'am.
the rock wall? Okay.
Just the rock wall, wherever the situation is.
So right now, what's the required footage for the ones that are abutting the residential?
6 feet.
Okay.
3 foot minimum, 6 foot max, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
My motion is that we do strike out the combination wrought iron metal and just keep it rock wall and avoid any future problems.
But it's like you said, though, if the tenant or the business comes
Property
in
owner?
first, the property, then they get to choose.
No.
So no, the way that, so the business is there first, this is not applicable.
Okay.
You cannot force, right? They've been there before the residential.
Right.
In this scenario, though, right, I think what you're gonna find, Mr. Nevares, is that in many times if the residential comes in next, the residential has to put the rock wall.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
But from nothing to this, so even if we strike it out, it's still something.
Yeah, that's right. It's still
So-
you still have a 6-foot rock wall.
So to me, it just, let's get the, something there. And it really doesn't matter. I mean, I think we're giving a lot of options, but and I'll be very, my house has the walls and I love it. So personally, I would love the wall because it protects everything of coming in. But that's just me. But we also gotta remember it's from nothing to something. So we gotta just, I think the 6 foot is fine.
And I think the way it's stipulated there clearly identifies that. Well,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your comment, Mr. Nevares.
the way it's stipulated here, I mean, we cover ourselves.
Yeah, that's right. The way that it's written is essentially the exact same scenario that the Ramoses find themselves in that you would then mitigate. So if this happens again, same situation, the commercial would be required to put a rock wall. And Ms. Colomia-Lobos, again, I think your point is well taken, ma'am. I mean, you're not ever going to mitigate every single thing, right? You're gonna build a 6-foot rock wall, people are always gonna find something, which is okay. But it really, if you want to strike that language on our part, I think it's okay. I mean, again, if that's what you choose to do.
Yeah. And the second gripe was they wanted to keep the noise as a minimum, even though we do have decimals in place.
Yeah.
We have hours in place. A rock wall would definitely hold some of that loud music. So it's a win-win situation, and nobody has to come here and gripe anymore because we have done what we needed to do. In the other instance, we would still probably get complaints, and the city would be, dealing with them. And so that's why I recommend that it be just rock wall.
So our current motion is to approve. The motion was made by Mr. Alejandro Garcia, seconded by Mr. Nevares. Ruben Reyes?
That's the way it was approved. I mean, that's
That's the
what, that's the
motion.
motion on the table.
You would have to change the motion if you want.
Well, there was a motion and a second already, right?
Yeah, they approved it.
Okay, we vote.
So we're gonna take a vote to see if it passes.
No.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
No.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Grants Department, item number 24, discussion and action to enter into a memorandum of understanding, MOU, between the City of Socorro and Project Vida to foster small business and entrepreneurship programs and support in Socorro, Texas.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Alejandra Valadez, City Development Director. We are requesting your approval to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the City of Socorro and Project Vida, which is a nonprofit organization that serves the greater El Paso region. Currently, they do provide assistance for small businesses, including technical support to help them restart and continue running their business through past and post the COVID-19 pandemic. They have various tools and programs available, and they become available and not based on funding that they receive. But the purpose of this memorandum of understanding is for both the city and Project Vida to work together to bring some of those resources here to our small businesses. As you know, our small businesses were impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and one of the results that we found from talking to our small businesses was that they could not access a lot of the programs and resources that are available in El Paso, and so that's the main goal of this MOU.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion.
Yeah.
Second.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 25, discussion and action to approve Resolution 695 of support for the El Paso County Water Improvement District 1 grant application to the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation Water and Energy Efficiency Grants Program for fiscal year 2023.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. On this item, we are requesting your approval for a resolution of support for our partner, the El Paso County Water Improvement District. They are submitting 3 grant application to the Water and Energy Efficiency Grant Program. We always provide a resolution of support, and you can see how some of these projects are currently now in the construction phase. They are requesting funding for the Riverside Regulating Reservoir, the concrete lining of a section of the Riverside Canal, and the concrete lining of a section of the Franklin Canal. Of course, these projects are in Socorro, and they do benefit not only our small tract irrigation people, farmers, and they also increase water efficiency when we do the concrete lining. We lose less water to both evaporation and permeating down through our water table. Yes. And Omar Martinez from the El Paso County Water Improvement District did want to make the meeting. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it, but he extends his apologies, and we know these projects already.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 26, discussion and action to approve Resolution 696 of support for the El Paso County Water Improvement District Number 1 grant application to the El Paso County American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, notice of funding opportunity.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We are requesting another resolution of support for El Paso County Water Improvement District on their application to El Paso County's Notice of Funding Opportunity through their ARPA allocation. El Paso County does have this Notice of Funding Opportunity, and entities that have not received an ARPA allocation are eligible to apply, which means El Paso County Water Improvement District is submitting an application for the survey, engineering, design, and environmental work necessary to complete 20 miles of that design work of the Franklin Canal, which will then in turn allow us to put a trail on it as part of the Paso Norte Trail, as Mr. Cruz discussed earlier. So we're very thankful for them to, always include Socorro in their projects, and this is why we're requesting a resolution of support.
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colombia Lobos.
Yes.
Recreation Department, item number 27, discussion and action on approval regarding 2022 Independence Day extravaganza for Saturday, July 2nd, 2022, to be held at Cougar Park, 10664 Socorro Road, from 5 to 10 p.m.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mayor, may I?
Mr. Martinez?
I know Mr. Grote has something to say, but I simply wanted to speak up. One of the things I try to do, and I try to, be completely transparent with council, and so when I should have done a better job, it's my job to tell you, I should have done a better job. If council is going to approve this item, I would strongly suggest that you make part of the motion, because it's not in the posting language that I approved, that council is approving a contract with Precision Fireworks in the amount of $25,000 and approving an event permit on this date at that location.
Jim, what language is lacking? What did you receive that's?
What did I receive and put my eyes on and read and completely failed to put into the posting language that you're considering approving a contract and authorizing the city manager to sign one for a fireworks display with Precision Fireworks for $25,000.
I amend my motion to include James' verbiage.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My department and I are very excited to be able to present to you the idea to continue our tradition to have the Independence Day extravaganza at Cougar Park. With your approval, we'll go ahead and get started with the marketing and also the recruitment for the sponsorships to cover part of the cost of the event. As always, as I mentioned, it is a family-friendly event for all ages with live entertainment, the fireworks display, if approved, as well as the sale of alcohol, if approved by City Council, as well as other food and beverages that are non-alcoholic. In addition, we will continue the entertainment and activities for the children, such as but not limited to face painting, giveaways, entertainment by bands, different arterial acts, as well as different innovative things that we can find to bring into the Socorro area. Typically in the past, we have seen our event go from 5,000 to 7,000 people in attendance. It's usually a very well-attended event, and the only date, unfortunately, that is available is July the 2nd. I'm happy to answer any questions. That is a Saturday.
Saturday. Okay, good.
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colombia Lobos.
Yes.
Item number 28, discussion and action regarding the purchase of a municipal vehicle for the city business for use of City Council.
Motion
Good
to approve.
evening, I'm sorry.
Motion.
To approve.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item was brought up on October 28, 2021. Council approved to authorize mileage until such time a car can be purchased due to we were at a lame duck period back then.
Based on the direction that I was given, I did go ahead and research different vehicles that are available to us through the company buy board or the state buy board. we went ahead and researched not only actual automobiles, sedans, but also SUVs. Depending on the use of council, given the terrain that you guys do travel for, we would suggest you get an SUV, just in case you are going through dirt roads, whether you're going to visit a constituent or going to a training or going to a meeting that takes place at a town. Based on the 5 boards that are included in the backup, you can see the difference in price and the vehicle. These are all vehicles that our mechanic is able to work on and maintain, as well as understand the complexity of the vehicle, and has no doubt that he would be able to service them if need be. I can go ahead and research other makes, models, or vehicles at the discretion of council. This was just something to give you an idea based on budget and cost. Thank you.
You have a question?
So the freight is more or less, what, $1,000? Is that what we're talking
It goes
about?
based on weight, ma'am, so that's not a straight shot on how much the weight would be.
Okay.
It would depend on the which vehicle you choose as well.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Mr. Cruz?
In the past, has council required a vehicle or the need to travel in city vehicles?
It is,
Whoever wants to
So,
answer.
I think back in the past, and that was way before our time, there used to be a vehicle for council, and that's when there was a couple of arrests that were made, just because they used it for personal issues. And that was back in, I mean, way before my time. But there was a vehicle that was used for council, and it was
So
misused.
should the council vote on an unbudgeted item right now? There's gonna need to be a creation of a new GL code or line item in finance for maintenance and fuel of this vehicle. We all now have to be on the city's insurance if we're insurable drivers. And that's an additional cost to what we are seeing here today.
I would not have the answer for that in terms of the insurance. The city clerk might have that for you. I will let you know that currently, if it goes under the city council budget, you are not budgeted. That is correct. You are not budgeted for vehicle fuel or maintenance or repairs.
Okay.
And we do have our finance director that can give you a better understanding of our budget than I can.
Jim, huh?
Mr. Casiano, can you answer his questions? I'm curious too.
And how many miles to the gallon? No, I'm just messing.
What Mr. Reta said is absolutely correct. There is nothing in the budget to cover any of the expenses of purchasing a vehicle or maintaining the vehicle.
I want to make a recommendation right now. Go ahead, Mr. Garcia.
No,
Sorry.
can this wait for the next budget?
Absolutely.
Well, and I think that's not our call. I think council was the one that brought up this item for your use. So I don't think this would be a staff's recommendation whether we wait or not. That's completely up to council.
Ms. Villalobos?
If I'm not mistaken, the first time it came on board it was somebody had done a research on the charter, is that correct? Or an ordinance that we had in place? Is that correct? Am I correct in that?
No, so when it was brought up, I do know that Mr. Reyes was the one that brought this item up because Mayor was having some mechanic, I guess your car was not operating well, and I know Mr. Reyes had brought it up because of that. I don't know if you want to chime in.
How?
I think that question is more for you. And he did bring also our travel policy for, the mileage reimbursement and all of those things.
And I will add, Ms. Colon-Villalobos, I think you did ask, I think I indicated, I haven't thought about that, but let me research it, and we did. And it's, as long as it is for elected officials and for use on city business, yes, I think it is legally permissible. Whether council wants to do it or not, that's a different issue.
Thank you.
And I think the reason why it was brought up is because I was using my vehicle I think we had about 3 parades. I have an SUV that I use, and I put everything in there. And I also travel to different events. I know we, as council, travel to TML, to Region 4 events. That could have saved us some money there. We have another TML event that's coming up in July. Every quarter, we have an event that we go to. So that could help us out as a team when we go to these places and meet other officials. Any other questions, comments?
I just, I just don't see the justification and the, I guess, the business that this council conducts right now. Yes, there's some travel here and there. I don't know that fuel or 2 TML meetings a year is going to equal $30,000 for a vehicle at this point. I don't know. Again, I maybe at this point my recommendation is to let's wait until the next budget meeting so that we can look at our budget. Maybe it's a little healthier by then if we can take a look at it now, unless the council wants to vote. I mean, we have to take action right now on this item regardless. Those were just my recommendations.
Mr. Reyes?
What Ms. Yvonne was saying, we did bring it up. Well, we brought, first it was a vehicle, but then it was before, it was Ms. Rodarte, Brad, and it was about city paying for council to do, like if we needed to travel out, they could pay for us. Parking, they could pay for it. Mileage, they would pay for
Reimbursement?
it. Yeah, reimbursement of all sorts of things. And that's why it was brought to.
The vehicle.
Right.
Mayor.
Ms. Villalobos?
And it's not just for council, it's for staff as well? It'll be available for staff?
I mean, that would be up to this council,
It says
how you
council
would
on
want
the
to.
agenda item, though.
I mean, because that's what it was approved back in October, right? So the item on the agenda back in October was a vehicle for mayor. And the travel policy was also brought up because there is a mileage reimbursement and other things of that nature in that policy.
Has it been exercised?
No, not that, I mean, I haven't signed off on it. I don't know, Mr. Casiano, he's gone. Oh,
He's right behind you.
has received any mileage reimbursement from council?
No,
No.
no request.
Not
no.
from this council, yeah.
Mr. Reyes, would you like to amend your motion?
It would be to wait for next budget.
So right now, the motion on the table is to approve it, right, to approve the purchase. We have a motion, we have a second, so I don't know if you want to take the vote, or do you want to amend your motion?
I want to buy it already.
Can I help you?
Ms. Villalobos?
My suggestion is, if you want to, is wait for the budget, but if you need reimbursement, to turn it in, because that's allowable, correct?
Correct. So there's mileage reimbursement. There's
Right.
a form that just needs to be logged in and logged out.
Okay.
So it will be a motion, amend my motion to suspend until budget.
So we will bring this information up in our budget workshop. That way, if you want to place it in that budget, we can go ahead and do so. Yes, on June, no, that's on July 17th, I think. 16th?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Planning and Zoning Department, item number 29. Discussion and action to approve Resolution 697, approving a variance request for front setback reduction for the property at One Horizon Shopping Center, point of 2 and 3.
Motion to approve?
34.33 degrees southeast and 52.18 degrees southwest of northeast corner of 2 at 10600 North Loop Road, Socorro, Texas.
Motion to approve? Second.
Good evening, once again, Mayor and Council, Carlos Gallinar. So this is a variance request. Again, the required front setback when a property is facing a major arterial like North Loop is 60 feet. And so this is a new fast food restaurant that's coming here at the address at 10600 North Loop. So what happened is, again, when they submit for construction drawings and we check for zoning and planning, the way that they situated their building is at 40 feet and not 60 feet, and so therefore they need the variance from council to move forward. Zoning is C2, so there's no problems with the zoning, there's no problems with the land, plenty of parking, commercial, everything is except for the front setback. Planning and zoning staff is recommending approval, and Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval on Tuesday. Here's the location map, so it's on North Loop. Next slide, please. Here's the zoning map, so again, it's C2, so it meets all the zoning requirements. Here's the property image. Here's the aerial. So it would be on that pad side, that vacant pad side that's in front of you. Yes, ma'am. Here's another look at the aerial. So again, North Loop, Horizon Boulevard, not far from here. Here's the site plan. And so the building, the blue square is the building. The red line is essentially where the 40-foot setback would be. Just to give you another idea of other buildings on that parcel, next slide. So the applicant is at the 40 feet. You have the, I believe it's a dentist clinic that's at 10 feet. You have the Burger King that's at 40 feet, and then you have the Circle K that's at about 35 feet. And so again, it's in keeping with some of the other buildings on that parcel of land. And again, the summary request is a variance to allow for a 40-foot front setback, and both staff and P&Z are recommending approval.
Mayor, we have a speaker for this item, Mr. Ramos.
I have 5 questions for this item. First, how this variance is going to affect, first, the sidewalk around the building. Second, the space for vehicles to drive around the building. And third, for the large emergency vehicles. And 4, how is the area in the back going to be used? And the last one is, is an alcohol permit attached to this approval?
Yes, please.
So again, just to be clear, the way that the setback works is from the beginning of the property line, right? So it doesn't affect the sidewalk or the street, that's still part of the public right of way. So from the beginning of the property line to the front of the building would be 40 feet.
Is it just the dirt part?
It's around the dirt
Where
part.
that trailer's parked? Yes.
Yes.
Mainly,
But-
right?
But they would obviously develop it, there'll be landscaping. So there's no interference with traffic coming in. 40 feet is pretty wide. There's plenty of lanes. There's plenty of parking. The back of it is essentially part of the parking lot that's part of the bigger shopping center. I didn't understand Mr. Ramos's last question, sir. Number 5. So if there's alcohol permitted, this is a Wendy's restaurant, so there's no alcohol attached to the permit. And just to be clear, it's for front setbacks, not anything having to do with anything else.
Motion to approve.
Ruben Reyes, we have a
We already
motion.
had a motion.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Look,
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colombia Lopez.
I'm so ready for those windy salads, yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Bacon egg burrito, yes.
Or the Arbor one.
Mayor and council, item number 34, discussion and action to direct city manager and/or designate staff to research grants to or allocate money to build a new city park or designate an existing city park to rename it as Veterans Park, to include shaded playground, track to walk around the park, and if possible, an activities building and/or canopy where not only our veterans, but visitors could enjoy and use for activities that will benefit our city.
That was it's my item, pretty self-explanatory. It's for staff to go look, maybe we have a park that we can make it, or to build another park. I know there's grants out there. Fabian's got a really good amount of money for their veterans. I think it was like 2 million that they got. And already talked to a couple of people. There is a lot of people that could fundraise, even if we could maybe not approve the park 1 year, one budget, build it all up, but maybe buy land and then start bringing it together. I know it was when I got elected, there was a talk about building the memorial, and talking to Ms. Rodarte, she said that the Veterans Park that we have in Socorro, it's privately owned, so the city couldn't really put any money into it.
Participate.
And the other thing, if anybody else would decide to make a donation, again, it's a privately owned, they can always take it off, tear it down, sell it, whatever they want to do. And that's what I gotta say.
Ms. Villalobos?
I know we have a lot of parks, and we have many parks that are vacant, it's just dirt. I think the city, if we were to approve this, we would start there, looking there, before purchasing any land. I know Alejandra already left, but the grants that Fabens received, do you know they were specifically geared to an organization that is for veterans, veteran parks, or was it a state?
Thank you. No.
So I think that the grant that he's talking about, it belongs to the county, because Fabens is part of the county. They're not incorporated, right? So I think that one of their main focuses is in Fabens. And I think that's the grant that you're talking about. But I mean, there are grants out there that we can apply for. Probably not as big, but we can apply for grants. Also, I mean, we would love to hear from council to see if parks that already exist, we have 17 total, including the ponding areas, to see if you want to name one of those veteran parks. I do know Mr. Cruz has been working diligently, I think, with some developers to bring some money for the veterans, where they want to have it on the Socorro Road. The only reason it hasn't been brought to council because it's not our land. But I do know that he's been working, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Cruz, but I do know, because I've heard from Mr. Montelongo, where it seems like someone wants to give a hefty donation in order to make that park.
Yeah, so
Like it's a reality.
Yeah, it's pretty premature right now, but it's looking promising for the veterans. I know the property belongs to the school district, so should the school district decide to tear down the memorial park for them? But I know, I mean, it's a possibility. But in having some conversations with some developers, they have mentioned that they are fully committed to building the memorial park, or Veterans Memorial. It'll consist of some park benches. doesn't necessarily have the space, or it doesn't lend itself for like a walking path. And I know that's what you're wanting to do. But again, it has nothing to do with the actual Veterans Memorial. The memorial is a memorial. It'll have names on it. It'll be a place for reflection for our veterans. But if the council decides and wishes to identify a park within our city already and give it a name, I mean, that doesn't offend me at all. I think we're trying to honor the veterans at the end of the day, right? And provide a walking trail of some kind and a dedication to the veterans. I mean, the more the merrier, is how I see it.
Do you have any land that you have seen? Or maybe one of the parks that you, or no?
Mayor.
Ms. Villalobos?
So I know of 2 parcels that you guys have, which is right next to Walgreens, that long stretch. And then across that long stretch, you have in a residential area, 2.5 acres. So,
Yeah.
do we have any other land?
Yes, I think we have a couple, I mean, I would have to get with planning and zoning to identify the pieces of land. What I do know is that a veterans park can't be inside a residential area.
Okay.
Because you really want to have that where your tourism, your visitors come and see this nice memorial for our veterans. So I mean, I think the one in Walgreens would be a great piece of land. But we can go and research and come back with some suggestions.
Yeah, that was done.
And we need a motion, please.
Standing there?
Motion to direct staff to find suitable parks for renaming or build of a veterans park.
Second.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Yes.
And Ivan Colombia Lobos?
Yes.
Item number 35, discussion and action regarding the acceptance of the musical entertainment sponsorship by Speaking Rock Entertainment and planning for Music Under the Stars event.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this agenda item that I bring before you today is the City of Socorro's rendition or our version of Music Under the Stars, right? Some of you might be familiar with what the Chamizal used to do before the pandemic. I think it's a really nice event. I think we can do something better because we are the City of Socorro. That's what we do, right? And so Speaking Rock has already said yes and sponsoring the entertainment. And if the people don't like the entertainment that night, they can blame it on Mr. Reta because it's going to be his choice of musical selection. But I wanted to make it a family event. I wanted the entertainment to be something that the people here in Socorro, and I know there's going to be people from outside of our city coming in. Bring your blankets, bring your lawn chairs, sit out in the grass, enjoy some evening music. Maybe we can invite the food trucks. We can charge them those fees that Jim was mentioning earlier. And I think it would be a nice event. It could be the beginning of something great here for the summers to come. And we can expand from there. But this agenda item is just for the acceptance of the sponsorship. I've also attached an abstention document as well. Speaking Rock Entertainment is owned and operated by Isleta su Pueblo. I am a member of that tribe, and therefore I'm going to abstain from voting on this item tonight.
Ms. Villalobos?
I think this is a wonderful idea. Financial impact, it says no cost to the city. Who's picking up the tab?
As far as what?
To put the event together?
There's really, I mean, as far as the resources that are going to be used from the city, We'll promote it on our page through our marketing director. The fees will cover
The cost.
the cost, but other than that, I don't see any.
Correct, so Speaking Rock will be sponsoring the music, right? And then we would coordinate, it's just like Movies Under the Stars, events that we have in the summer for families. It would be the same type of event. It's just another event for the city too.
Right, no, I understand. Forgot about the permit fees that we will now implement.
To pay for the.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Abstain.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Item number 36, discussion and action to accept sponsorship for the City of Socorro park improvements in the amount of 25,000 TPA Group.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This next agenda item that I'm bringing here tonight is for the acceptance of a sponsorship for the park improvements in the amount of $25,000. As you all know, our Public Works and Parks and Recreation, they've been working diligently throughout the city to improve our parks. We do operate a very slim budget for the amount of parks that we have in our city. And the sponsorship here that you see before you is in the total amount of $25,000. It is, however, coming from 3 different entities, and you'll see there. The first one is from Socorro BTS Partners, LLC, in the amount of $11,750. SLC Building 3 LP is sponsoring $8,000. And the next sponsorship in the amount of $5,250 is coming from SLC Building 4. And again, this is at no cost to the city.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Item number 37, discussion and action to allow District 4 Yvonne Colombia Lobos to clarify personal events mentioned during regular council meeting.
Mayor,
Mr. Martinez?
and Mr. Colombia Lopez, I apologize. I should have called you. I emailed you, and then as soon as I emailed you, I thought, that's probably not the best way to try to communicate with her. I should have called. My fault. But I did have concerns about this item. The way it's phrased, I was looking for more information, because the way it's phrased, I don't think you've given fair notice to anybody of what you're trying to discuss or what you're trying to deliberate or decide on. My suggestion, again, with apologies, is I would suggest deleting this item. Let me visit with you. I'll figure out what, I'll get some more information, and then I'll phrase it in a way that does give fair notice, so we can come back and address it.
Okay, I will, it's not what I was expecting, because I submitted this on time, and you should have gotten back to me immediately.
I did.
Mhm.
The email was,
When did you send it?
On Jim's defenses, you sent the agenda to Miss Olivia.
Mhm.
Jim didn't see this agenda item until she sent the draft, right? So then that was Friday, and I think he emailed me and you to try to clarify, but we never received a response from him.
I've been on my emails and
I know.
responding, and I didn't get anything. I'm
And
not
you
sure if you
didn't-
used the correct email, but I didn't receive it. That's what I'm saying. If not, I responded to everything else since then.
Correct.
Mhm.
I mean, all I'm saying is that
Mhm.
in his defense, so
Mhm.
for council is when you will send an agenda item, it has to go to Jim for review before we post. So normally when you send it to me, that's kind of what I do. I know Mr. Reyes had sent out the email, he said review it. I reviewed it, and then I send it to Jim, hey, review it. Is it ready for us to post? And I think you've seen those emails when I post them, and then I say, hey, Jim, please
Can you-
review and approve for agenda.
Right.
Right, I don't think that was done. He didn't see that until the agenda was posted by.
yeah, and I typically get those from all members of council just routinely, and for this one, for whatever reason, it went to Olivia, And I didn't see anything about it until I saw this item on the agenda, and when I did, I emailed the city manager saying, oh, what is this about?
So what's the difference between this item and the items that come like this, but don't have the backup? What's the why is mine different?
It's really not about the backup, it's about the posting language. I just don't think it's specific enough. I don't think we've given fair notice to the public. Let me put it this way. If I'm here at all the meetings and I have extensive communications with council and I look at it and I don't know what it's about, well, then I think that's it's pretty safe to assume that we haven't given fair notice to the public what we're proposing to discuss, deliberate, or decide.
Okay, so personal events is not good enough?
No.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to delete?
Motion to delete. Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia,
Aye.
Rudy Cruz,
Yes.
and Ivan Colombia Lopez.
Yes.
Item number 38, discussion and action to direct city manager and her designated staff to research an organization and/or program that would host a car seat clinic event in the city of Socorro.
Motion to approve. Second.
So I brought this item for a couple of reasons. I recently met a mother who came from Mexico and doesn't
Can you
buckle up
talk into the mic?
buckle up her kids. And so I said, we have to educate the public. Plus, every year, and we just heard it in the news yesterday, a father got arrested for leaving his child in the car. So I thought this would be a great event. And Chief, I know I haven't told you, but are you still planning to do the hot dog and get to meet your chief and police kind of thing? Because this would be go hand in hand with getting the public to come out and take care of those two.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I did have a meeting with Ms. Colombia Lobos, and it was mentioned at that time that we would like to do a public safety day, which the car clinic could be part of it. We're in the preliminary stages of planning that. I have some of my staff working on presentations that they can do, but we have yet to work out a budget or a date for that event, but we could certainly put a car clinic on, a car seat clinic on. I actually do have my victim's advocate, who is a certified technician, and she has contacts that are outside of the city that could assist us with that particular part of it.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
We do have a motion.
Second, I'm sorry.
And we have a second.
We have a second.
Let's
He
get
can
it done
second the
then.
second.
Find the car seats.
Third.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia,
Aye.
Rudy Cruz,
Yes.
and Ivan Colombia Lopez.
Yes.
Item number 39, discussion and action to direct the city manager and/or her designated staff to obtain an updated actuarial study cost analysis report that includes all city employees' participation in a TRMS, Texas Municipal Retirement Plan.
I'm sorry. So in the past, we have talked about the plan, the retirement plan that's in place right now versus it's not called a 401, but it's very similar to a 401. And I did, I know that in the past, we have a study that is probably 12 months old or a little bit more than that. So we need a new study to see how much it would cost if we were to implement this policy and cancel the other one. But I also added some videos. I don't know if they're here. This is what I could find on YouTube that explains how both of them work. And I know that I'm bringing this item because there's several employees that prefer this policy over the policy that they currently have. Some of those have mentioned that they have till now, from the beginning of the year till now, have lost over $6,000 in funds, and it's not working for them. So, and on top of it, I don't know if you know the plan that we have now, they have to go and find the entities to invest in. They have to go into their dashboard and invest themselves. It's not working for them. They don't understand it, et cetera, et cetera.
This one is the 457 plan.
Well, I have a question before we watch how long are the videos?
This one's 10 minutes. And I don't know how long the other one is. I have to check.
This one here.
457 plan.
Explains both of them together if that's what you want to.
What, it's because we had a lady present the other, I don't know, maybe 2 meetings ago, and talking about the same thing. And I'm trying to understand which staff members where are you getting the information from? Because is your agenda item to direct staff to go out and find what it's gonna cost to enter into these types of plans? Or is it to educate the council here on what the retirement plan is?
Both. So you can you guys can make an informed decision.
But are we making a decision on engaging or directing staff to engage in a plan right now? Or should the first step be to see if the staff even want it? Because you mentioned there's staff that the current plan doesn't work for them, but I need to see that data in front of me. I need to see correct, concise information. This is what I'm getting at.
Mr. Reyes was there too. Mr. Reyes?
I know that they're gonna be very long. It's for them to bring back cost analysis so we can show it to council, show it to the employees. If, let's say for example, I go to you as an employee and tell you, hey, you know what, we're gonna get a retirement. How much is it gonna cost? I'm not sure. We have the information. I can tell you, you know what, it's gonna cost you, let's just say, $10 every pay period, compared to whatever they're paying. It's information to see if it's allowed, it's feasible for the city to get a different retirement.
So, just to be clear, should we watch the videos and we direct staff? I'm under the impression that should the city engage in something like this, every single staff member or employee of the city has to engage and participate in this program. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's the only way they work. And the other two options that the city has is, should we engage in a plan like this, we start from day one, or we buy those years back from those employees who have been working here for X amount of years. So we have employees that have been working for the city for 5, 10, 7, 8 years. We have to buy all that back. We don't know what that cost is. And we may get blowback from those staff members who have tenure with the city already, because now we're starting them back from ground zero, meaning they have no years invested with the city. That's the only, I guess, concern that I have in making this type of decision. At the end of the day, whether the staff or employees want it or not, and we vote that we want it, they either engage in it or they stop working for the city. Is how I'm understanding it.
Ms. Villalobos.
The videos were just to additional information. So if you want to preview them, fine. If you don't, that's fine with me too. I've already seen them. I understand what's going on here. But keep in mind, they're losing money and in large numbers. It's not working for them.
Well, how are they losing money right now?
Their rate was minus, where do I have it? Right now, their rate is minus 1 point something, so they're losing money.
I just want to know who's losing money and at what rate and what amount. That's what I just
All
want to
employees?
know. All the employees are losing money, they told you?
So everybody gets the same rate. Obviously, if it's a minus, they're losing money.
But you said the staff members told you they were losing money.
Yes. Chief, do you want to help me out here? Or Mr. Casiano?
Can I chime in just a little bit?
Absolutely.
Charlie Cassiano, Finance Director for the City of Socorro. What we have is a 457B plan, okay? None of that money belongs to the city. It all belongs to the employees. Okay, if they're losing money, well, you know, they probably have part of it in the stock market and maybe in some bonds. There is an account in the 457B plan that is just a money market account. If you're not happy or you're not comfortable with stocks and bonds, you put your money in that. It earns like 3%, which is a ridiculous amount right now. If you look at savings accounts, it's a ridiculously good amount for the employees. They can put their money in that. That's what they'll get, and there's no risk involved there. Okay, and what Mr. Cruz had said is that the TMRS presentation was such that if we adopt that, every employee has to participate, and I believe it was at 5%. I think there's an option for 5, 6, or 7, and whatever that option is, then the city then would match. Currently, they're matching the 457 plan at 7%, and it's going to go up to 8% next year. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but the TMRS plan has certain criteria that they can invest in. Okay. Now, what we have in the 457B plan are investments that we can choose. And one of the things you can choose, along with that 3% money market account, are accounts based on the time that you're going to retire. Like, let's say it's 2040. That you get into the 2040 plan, and they structure it and continue to massage it as the years go, because as you get older, you want to be in less risky stuff, unless you're me, you know. But anyway, that way it's structured that way. The 401k, which I believe was mentioned in the article and was discussed in the presentations that we heard. The 401k was suggested for, rather than matching the 457B, we would match and put it in a 401k at a vesting schedule. Now, what that vesting schedule does, it says, this money is yours, but if you are only here for 3 years, you only get a percentage of that money. Okay? So that money actually belongs somewhat to the city of Socorro still until you're fully vested. Now, that's used as a tool to keep people from leaving so quickly. I mean, maybe you make it a 7-year schedule and they hang on for 7 years before they leave you. But the 457B, which we have now, has no such schedule. We're 100% vested from the beginning, which you need to know is like a Cadillac plan. This is a good thing for the employees. Whatever they put in is matched up to 8% next year. That is a very positive plan for the employees. Now, again, if they're adverse to investment risk, there's that 3%. Put it there. Otherwise, you're leaving money on the table.
Mr. Garcia?
So I think this is noble, but as a teacher, I pay into TRS. And I asked the man, he couldn't answer me when I told him, what is the difference between TRS and TRMS? Same difference. I have no choice. It is what it is. I'm a teacher, and it happened, and it's done. We have no say our retirement is played on the stock market as well. Texas does not give us a choice. So the thing is that it's great that we want to do this, but I warn that to pay everybody's back salaries and to pay everybody's future costs of what it might cost can drown the city. It could really drown the city.
You know, I think if we go back to that TMRS presentation, he's saying you don't have to buy into that. And they cannot touch, you cannot touch the 457B. I mean, that's already the employee's money. So we can continue the 457B along with the TMRS, along with Social Security. You know,
Mr.
we
Casero,
forget about that, but we do pay that, and that is part of the retirement package of the city.
as our chief financial officer, what is
I'm not the chief financial officer because I'm not an officer. I am the finance director.
as finance director, what do you suggest for us to do? Because this is something that you know, is scary because it is the best interest, but we also don't have the money to do this.
Well, you know, the thing is, you know, and I'm probably jumping the gun here a little bit, but Socorro is growing like ridiculously. And the thing is, we need to continue exploring these things. And at some point, yeah, TMRS might make a lot of sense to do, you know, because we have so many employees. We have, and we're going to constantly be competing for the good people that we want to keep, you know, working here. And that's a tool. Is that TMRS is going to be much more attractive in years to come. So just if we don't do it this year, doesn't mean we're not going to do it. It means maybe we do it in 3 years when we're a little bit better equipped.
So you would suggest the time is not right for
Right.
this?
I would suggest that. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And I just wanted to add, we did do a survey and we have 50-50. We don't have 100% participation. Even the police department is not 100% on board for the TMRS. And the only thing I think right now that we need to consider is that the inflation and what you spend at the grocery store, those $50 that you're making it mandatory might not get them to work the next week because they don't have any gas to put. I mean, $50 goes a long way for our employees that are at the labor cost. I think that the main focus should be right now is the salary analysis and getting our jobs up to par to assist these individuals. Then look into, yeah, let's go into a TMRS. I mean, at some point you guys are gonna have to pull the trigger and say, we're gonna benefit. But right now with the inflation, I just feel that there's some employees that are really hurting. You know, to live paycheck to paycheck.
Chief, do you want to say anything?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dave Burton, Chief of Police. I'm just going to differ from the financial director. Finance director, not finance officer, I got you. It isn't a money market account. It's a fixed account, and it pays at 2.45% right now. Everything else is in the negative. Ms. Columbia Lobos is correct. So the TMRS rate pays at a 5%, a 6%, or a 7%. I can't make 5% right now on the 457. I'm one of the individuals that's losing thousands of dollars since January. I'm not the only one in the police department that's losing thousands of dollars since January. The measurement is by quarter. It is correct that TMRS does require 100%. We did an actuary in 2019, and the cost to the city at that time with the amount of employees that we had for the best plan, which is at the 7%, was at about $365,000 a year. There is no buyback option now. TMRS withdrew that in 2019, so we cannot buy time back. If I were going to move forward with this, then I would put the TMRS in place and allow the 457 to stay. You will not contribute to the 457 any longer, but you would contribute to the TMRS if you decided to go with that option. The 457 would stay for those individuals that didn't, or that already have the money invested, because it's their money. Like Mr. Cassiano was saying, it's not the city's money, it's the employee's money.
I have a question, Chief.
Go ahead.
One moment, please. Mr. Garcia was next.
My question is, so what do we do with employees that don't want to do it?
Yeah, so I mean, that's the conversation that we've had in the past here, right? So what's good for the employee versus, versus the pay, right? And the city manager is 100% correct. And when we had the meeting on this regarding the retirement, that conversation came up. Under the current inflation rates, you cannot do one without the other, all right? Because that 5% mandatory now for those individuals who are not, I've been paying since I've been here, right? In fact, I've been paying since I was a police officer, because that's what I'm used to doing, is you invest in your future. But because of the pay scales here, there's some individuals, it is recognized that there's some individuals that don't do that, and they do live week to week paychecks,
So a good suggestion would be, take a look at our salaries, focus on our salaries, and hopefully in the coming years, we can take a look back at this and say, we're ready for this.
You're gonna have to make a salary adjustment here coming up shortly, yes, because people just can't afford to personal opinion, right? That's not professional opinion, that's my personal opinion. Because there's people here, and not the police officers necessarily, but there's other workers here that do a hard day's work that don't really get compensated at what would probably be a fair market value, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Cruz?
Chief, thank you for the financial update. You mentioned earlier you're losing money. Are you losing money because of the salary range that you are in, or are you losing money because of the options that you enrolled in?
Okay, so when you're on the dashboard, there's different investment strategies you can pick from, whether that is a large stock, a large cap, mid cap, small cap, money market, overseas, real estate. You can invest in real estate. Every single number on that dashboard right now, anywhere where I put that money, is a negative, except for the fixed account that pays the 2.45.
So you have an option to opt out of all of your investments and just
but
be
that
safe.
comes with a catch, because you can only make 6 investment changes per financial quarter.
Right, but you have the option to opt out.
If I have more than 6 funds, I can't do that. So in other words, if I initially put my funds, if I spread my funds around, because one category may take a hit, another one doesn't, right? So because you're trying to play a balancing act with the financial aspect of things, I can only make 6 changes. So as I see one area drop, I try to move that money over to something that's still positive, okay? So that's what, when you're an employee that's, not employee, when you're an investor that's in a 457, it's up to you, as the financial director said, to massage your money, right? To massage your account, to try and make the most that you can. And obviously, we're looking for that 5% or 6% or 7%, because that's what a normal retirement fund costs.
Ms. Rodarte?
Correct. So, I mean, we can go back and forth, right? I think we're focused just on one department. Council only met with one department. Are you fiscally responsible of what the city makes? We are dipping in $1.7 million into our reserves. And, I mean, that's what you need to be looking at first before making a decision, or before getting high hopes for employees, if that's not something that you are planning on bringing on board. Now, if you want to bring it on board, then let's place an item on the agenda not to exceed $1.5 million, and let's move with it. But, I mean, these conversations create chaos because everybody's looking at this meeting. Employees look at these meetings. And what makes me upset is that I'm here to represent the whole city, not just the police department. They are a very important role, but I mean, he's losing money because he's a high risker. He likes to play with his money because he likes to make money, right or wrong? Have you made money in the past?
I have.
Yes, right? Because he likes to, I mean, you have that opportunity is to move your money around. You can play it safe, like Mr. Charlie said, and put it in a fixed rate. If he moves all his money, but he can't because he's already moved his money 6 times a year that 457 allows you to, right? It's just, you need to get with a financial advisor, which we are not, to teach you a little bit more of how to deal with your money. But we're getting 7%.
Or watch the YouTube video.
I'm sorry?
Or watch the YouTube video.
Yes. But I'm saying we need financial advisor, and everybody needs to sit individually with that person because every situation is different, right? Some of us like to risk. I mean, he's taught me how to put money, and then it's like, whoa, you see it increases. And yeah, the inflation and how the market is right now, you're gonna see the dip. But these markets are made for the long run, right? Because at the end of the day, they guarantee you they're gonna make you money. And the city's putting money that, I mean, if he puts 150, they're gonna put 150, up to 5%, well, 7% of his annual salary. You don't see that often, right? But I mean, I just feel like the conversations take place, and it creates a lot of chaos and a lot of misinformation out to the employees, and then it creates a friction between administration. It does.
No, I can't be sitting down. Sorry.
Mr. Villalobos?
So this was not to create any friction between you and your employee?
Yes, ma'am, but it has. It
Okay.
has for the last,
I'm
since
sorry.
you brought this item up.
Yes,
It has.
yes. My role is all of you, not just.
So why are you just meeting with the chief of police?
Because he's the one that is explaining it, and it was not just the chief of police originally, just so you know. It was C. Ray, who's no longer with us, and he mentioned he would be leaving, and this was part of it, and some other officers that were there. I realize it's just one department, but this is a discussion to discuss and to bring back to see how much it would cost. It's not to approve this plan at all. It's just to see how much the cost would be. And I can't just, wish him off because I don't have other departments talking to me. And of course, I'm not gonna go over, I think it would create more.
Well, you went to him.
No,
You did.
I went, yes,
Yes.
we had a meeting, yes.
Yes.
And, yes, and we discussed what
Correct.
the.
Even the car seat event that I was just made aware of that I guess he's already planning.
I sent you an email, and you got that email that we were meeting.
I don't want to go there, but.
Did you get the?
You set up, well,
you-
because you set up an appointment with him
But did you get the email?
after the fact. Because he came into my office asking me, did they run the meeting? No, he called you and you said yes, when you hadn't had a conversation.
No, I sent you the email before the.
No, you sent it 3 hours later. Yes. Yes or no?
The email came in after the phone call.
Okay. After the phone call, but not before the meeting.
No, the email came in before the
You
meeting.
scheduled the meeting before you sent out the.
Right, right. So, just so you know, I called them and I said, listen, I feel like the last meeting we had was not finished. This is part 2. I'm better now. Do you want to sit down and discuss this? And he said yes. And we made an appointment. And then he reminded me to send you an email. And I did. This is prior to the meeting, correct?
Well, I called you first, man, to ask you
Yes.
if you checked with the city manager.
Right.
And at that point, you told me that you had.
Which you
And
hadn't.
the email followed that phone call.
Okay. Okay. So, and I didn't get a respond, but I did send that email. Had there been a problem, you know that I'm wide open. I would have said, you know what, no, she doesn't want
I
us to
mean,
do
I
that.
think I discussed it with Mayor, but it's neither here nor there. I think that if you want to bring the pension, let's place an item on the agenda to approve something. Let's pay up to $1.5 million or whatever it is that your amount is, and let's run with it. Because this going back and forth and play, I think that everybody wants a pension. I want a pension. But my number one job is let's be fiscally responsible. I don't want to be laying off people in 2 years because we're going bankrupt.
Well, this is why this is a discussion. It's not an approval. It's a discussion.
Correct, but we've been discussing this for such a long time.
This is
And
my
again,
second-
these conversations create chaos.
I understand
In our
what you're
staff,
saying. Oh, I
right?
understand what you're
So-
saying, but this is
Can we focus, please? We can't have bickering. This has gone on
It's
long
not
enough.
bickering.
It's long enough. This is a study cost analysis report is what it's asking for. Can we redirect, please? Do we have a motion?
Motion to deny.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
No.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia,
Aye.
Rudy Cruz,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 40, discussion and action to reappoint Ivan Colom Villalobos to the 88th Legislative Committee. Ms. Villalobos?
Okay, so, last time, last meeting we had, I was removed from participating in the legislation from that point forward. Recently at TML, which was on Friday, this actual item came up at TML. And the one person that brought it up was from Midland. He's a councilman from Midland. And he stated that legislation is coming and that we all should be participating, every single one of us. You're not going to make headways by just sending a couple of councilmen and hope for the best. So the mayor for Andrews got up and she stated what she did in the past. What they did is not only did all councilmen go to Austin for legislation for a certain item that they really wanted, but they got citizens, business owners, citizens from Andrews involved, and staff, and they all went. They all had the propaganda. They all looked the same, and they were granted I'm sorry, that last item just threw me off. They were granted to speak in front of the legislation, and they were able to victoriously get what they needed, not because, they knew somebody there or they had a group there advocating for them. They won because they noticed that it was a whole city coming together and requesting, and so they became victorious. So what they're saying, when I told them that what had happened here, they said that's the wrong way to go. You all need to be involved. You all need to know what's going on, and you all need to go together. And you need to get your citizens together, and if you really want to be looked at, because there's going to be times where you're going to need to go talk to one legislation group, and you have to split up, and each one of you need to know what the subjects are. And there's going to be times where you're going to go somewhere else, and you're going to need to know. So you're going to need backup. You're going to need backup. And so this is why I'm asking to be added. I know that one of the main reasons was walking quorum. There's a way of going around that by posting it. And that will eliminate the walking quorum. It's very simple. It's very easy. So for that reason, and because I am passionate and I'm here asking again, is I'm asking that you add me as a third. I'm not asking for anybody to be removed. And I also put an email there. I don't know if you read it. I just sent it out yesterday. I was hoping that the mayor would respond. She didn't, but it does talk about exactly what she talked about at the meeting. And mayor was there, and so was Mr. At-Large. And I don't know if they want to, back me up on this, but they heard, the exact same thing. Thank you.
I do agree with Ms. Villalobos in what the mayor of Andrews was saying. Everybody got together, and if you've been to Andrews, I mean, we were there last time, and I would say they're a pretty well-off city. But they got noticed. They were wearing the same shirts. They were walking in, together to these sessions, and they were getting noticed just everywhere they went. So if we put forth the effort to be a team, to all work together, we can accomplish so much. We just need to learn to work together and to do these things, without one did this and the other did that. We're here for one cause, and that's for the city of Socorro. That's what we're here for. We need to learn that every single day. Say it to yourself every single day, no matter how many times you keep saying it to yourself. We're here for the city of Socorro and its residents. And I agree, maybe we do need to step it up, and we need to go to these sessions all together and present ourselves.
I want to move to postpone this item indefinitely.
Why?
To delete?
Did you get a second?
Second.
Ruben Reyes?
No.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos?
Mr. Martinez, can that be done indefinitely?
No, yeah, that's a good point. If you're going to postpone it, I would say, postpone is the correct term, I would say, till when, to which meeting or for how long?
Indefinitely?
He just said you can't do that. You need to pick a time.
Yeah, I would say that.
But under Robert's Rules of Order, when you postpone indefinitely, that means that there's no option to vote on it. It just gets postponed indefinitely. If there's a motion and a second, that's it. Motion stays.
Yeah, but I don't think that's an appropriate motion. You could delete it. If you're going to postpone it, you have to specify the time. The duration or which meeting you're bringing it back at.
Okay. I don't have the schedule in front of me.
You can delete it, you can bring it back, you can say postpone it to the next meeting, or the first meeting in October, or the second meeting in June, whatever.
Okay. We can do the first meeting of December if,
Come on, guys, that's not right. Councilman, I'm asking, that's not right. It almost feels personal.
We don't have a second.
If you want to talk to the mayor, we can postpone it till the next meeting. Talk to the mayor. And she'd be more than glad to talk to you and tell you exactly what they did to become victorious.
Second.
Ruben Reyes?
No.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos?
He just smirked. That's crazy. No, and Mr. Martinez, I'd like to meet with you over this item.
I'm sorry,
I would like to meet with you soon over this item.
on 40?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Motion to delete 41 through 43?
Motion to delete 41 through
43.
43.
Second.
Motion to adjourn? I'm sorry, need to vote?
Do we have a second for?
Yes.
Second.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Meeting adjourns at 9:19 p.m. Good night.
Goodbye.